of sitting in the background, and you know, we're using amateur radio in a lot of different ways. It was one of the original social medias, if you will, and people used to kind of look at the guys carrying walkie-talkies around, a little bit strange, and they were always known to be a little bit out of the ordinary, but like I said, by definition of the FCC, it is a service. It's a backup in case all else fails. Now everything's so dependent on the internet. We can communicate across town, across country, across the state, across the world, point to point, with just a simple antenna, and be able to get on the air in times of emergencies. So it's also a continuation of extension of amateurs' proven ability to contribute to the advancement of radio art. So amateurs over the years have helped to enhance and develop a lot of the technology that we realize today. It's also the encouragement and improvement of amateur service to the groups which provide advancing skills in both communication and technical phases of the art. So I'd say the technical aspect is a big part of it. The extension of existing reservoir within the amateur radio service of trained operators, technicians, and electronic experts. So it's a good pool of resources whenever we're needed. And also, it's a continuation, extension of amateurs' ability to enhance international goodwill. So we're all ambassadors, and like I said, I've talked to people in Russia, Australia, Japan, just you name it. It's I think I've got just in my electronic blog, I've got over 10,000 contacts that I've made over the years, and that's not counting a lot of stuff that I've done on just paper blogs. But part of the reason I'm here today is on the weekend of June 25th and 26th, we're having our annual, what we call field day. And it's a national exercise. The U.S. and Canada hands will be setting up, and there's a lot of different classifications. Sometimes we set up at the fire department, ran operated as an EOC. Terry's been there, Scott's been there, and visited with us. But it's a chance that we can, this time we're actually going to set up near my house on the corner of County Road 49 and County Road 30. We've got a nice little area just off the side of the road, easy access. We're actually going to string some simple antennas up in some trees and operate on battery power and use solar panels for charging our batteries and operate. It's a 24-hour marathon basically to see how many stations contact across the U.S. and Canada, including Hawaii and Alaska. And I've got several handouts here, but this is just a map. If anyone would like to see this is from one of our past field days where we operated from the fire station, and the states that are highlighted are the ones that we actually make contact with. There's a few, we pass those around. There's a few that we didn't make on that particular day or that particular weekend. But like I say, it's a chance to see what can be done under simulated emergency conditions, and everyone's invited. If you want to actually see a little bit about what it's like, and we can actually get you on the air. We're all licensed by the FCC, so as long as we have a control operator present.
So it's the 25th and the 26th, and what was those roads again where you're going to be setting up?
It's corner of County Road 49 and County Road 30. 2 miles north of Rim.
Okay.
And,
my grandson's going to love that.
yeah, we certainly the more young people we can get involved, the better. Here's a keep flyers, and this is a.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is this satellite based or antenna based, or how does it work?
Well, we'll typically operate just on most of our contacts will be on what's considered HF, high frequency, which is down below most of your public service is on VHF, UHF. That's available, but most of our contacts will actually be on some of the lower frequencies, and it'll be either
But y'all just bouncing from one antenna to another.
one antenna to another. Sometimes, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but we actually use the part of the ionosphere which reflects the waves back to the Earth. So the distant communication, like to Alaska, Hawaii, to the Midwest and Northeast, where you'll probably get in the CB days, you may have heard people talk about skip. Well, it's bouncing the waves off the atmosphere, and for long distance communication, may make multiple bounces from the atmosphere to Earth and back to the atmosphere.
How big a radio is this?
Well, I should have brought one in for demonstration, but this one is for VHF and UHF, similar to the public service radios. We've got a repeater up on Turkey Out Mountain, both VHF and UHF repeater that our local club sponsors, and it's on battery backup, so we got we'll operate even when power's off. But I've got a small radio, probably a little bit wider than this and about 8 inches deep, that I talk to just from an antenna in my van. I talk as far away as Australia, 100 watts, and so can't do that every day, any time of the day, but there's under certain conditions, you can talk anywhere in the world, Europe, where, But this particular weekend is it's kind of a contest, but it's not a contest. We'll be competing with other similar groups around the country and Canada, and they'll keep score. But and we get some bonus points if we have an elected official or somebody from a survey agency like Red Cross or the EMA or somebody comes by there. We get some extra points for that. We get points for setting up on emergency power. Stations can actually operate from home, and they don't get, if you're on emergency power from home, you get some extra points for that. But this is kind of a fun event to get together and show people what we can do, and actually let anybody get on the air that wants to try it. And we'd especially like to encourage younger folks to come by and actually see what they do. We can build our own antennas and string a little piece of wire up in a tree and get on the air with very limited resources. So,
You've been doing this in the past at the fire department.
yeah, we've done it at the fire station. You came by it at the fire station in the past, and maybe one day we'll get a chance to actually sit up over here
And didn't y'all have some of the older radios there? That was seen that day?
Yeah, we had several things on display, and most of the stuff that we use now is solid state. It doesn't require as much energy to operate. We can operate on batteries, but the old few type radios are still around, and they still work, and some of those you can actually work on and see what's going on inside as compared to some of the stuff that's on the little small boards and stuff now. It's kind of hard to troubleshoot. But
how much do those radios like you was talking about that's 8 inches deep cost?
you can spend as much or as little as you want to get on there. Some anywhere from $500 to several $1,000s for something that'll actually get on just about all bands. Something like this maybe $200 or $300. There's some small radios now, the imported radios that are, you can actually get something and get on there for $20 to $30.
So North Carolina, South Carolina, that.
This is limited. This is kind of like your
just our local band.
Yeah, through repeaters. There are some enhanced conditions that it's possible to talk long distance to the Carolinas or Tennessee or
Right.
somewhere, but typically within, with the use of the repeater within, 40, 50 mile radius, maybe 100 mile radius, with a handheld like this. But also, we did, there's actually a repeater on the International Space Station. So a lot of us will get out and wait for it to come over and listen and try to talk to some. We've had some local, I haven't, but we've had some local folks that actually used the repeater on the space station to talk with some other folks. So it's, you got a short window, maybe 5 or 10 minutes as it comes over. But we actually did make a contact with some hams on board the space station one year when we were operating with just a handheld radio like this.
How many members do we have here in Cleburne County?
We got a small group, probably 12 active members in our local group, and we're called Turkey Mountain Repeater Association. Gordon McKinney was one of the founding members. Helped get their folks started. There's quite a few hams in Cleburne County that are not necessarily part of our club, but they're also there. Some people really get into the emergency service aspect of it. Some, all they want to do is get on and talk to their friends. Some want to get on and see how far they can talk and how many stations they can talk. So there's doctors, lawyers, dentists, whatever.
If the grid went down, this would be our way to communicate with the rest of the world.
Yeah, we can bring in a radio. In fact, we've talked about, in the past, we have had a station set up at the EMA. We've talked about trying to get that done again. I was talking a little bit more with Governor before COVID, guys, we were looking at trying to get something set up again, maybe, but,
Sorry, she had an appointment today. I'm sorry, she didn't get a chance to.
no, that's fine. I'd like to get with her again and
I think she's got some emergency antennas too, don't she, in that truck?
Well, they work a little bit with you guys, don't they?
Yeah, yes, and I haven't done very much as far as trying to get everything established with the county, but I'm actually the emergency coordinator for the American Radio Relay League for amateur radio emergency services. So it's my responsibility to try to work with you guys within the county to try to make you aware of what we can do and be available in case there is a need. And, especially when you get into some places out in the national forest where cell phones don't work, and it's.
Well, Tracy then.
Tracy Lynn,
Yeah.
EMS.
He's over our EMS. He's our EMS director.
Yes.
Tracy Lambert.
Yep.
He's all the time. What I'm saying is he does calls up in She Hall. He might have some.
Yeah.
Gordon
I
Springs.
talked to him.
And he lives on Turkey Hill.
I was up there to repair one day I drove down, he was out, and I stopped and talked to him for a few minutes, so. We're actually on the old AT&T tower sharing with the FM station up there. We've got repeaters and antennas up there that we put up, so it's adjacent to the county tower, so. We're a resource if you guys need us, but we would pass the word if you'd like to come by and actually find out more about it. We'll be actually setting up on Friday before we'll start on Saturday afternoon.
Is it okay if we post this on EMA and on county? We'll post all this on our EMS and our Facebook pages and our website.
There's a lot of people that goes to describe it today
I
also.
have a feeling when I turn this over to Lucas, I'm going to maybe then.
Do you have anyone that could email it so we can have a good copy?
Yes, I can.
I can go make
if
copies if I need to. This.
Well, I just thought if we
I
could
can
get
send
it.
I can send out emails to anybody.
Okay, it'll post better if we could get
You'll
email.
email it to Lisa, and then she can tag the city of Heflin and the surrounding cities too.
Okay.
Or you can send it to me and I'll send it out to everybody.
Okay. All right.
Y'all got all the information on this, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I didn't read it. Look at it too.
And I've got several more handouts. I have some stuff there at that field day, but hopefully weather be good and we'll won't have any problems, but we're prepared to put our stuff in the truck and do whatever, but again, we'll start it. We'll actually go on there at 1 o'clock Central Time on Saturday and run for 24 hours and close down at 1 o'clock on Sunday. So we'll try to be there, around the clock. So if anybody wants to come and camp out with us or whatever, they're welcome to come. We might even have some hot dogs, hamburgers.
That's what I was waiting for you to say.
Chili, I'll be, as long as you have that hot chili in here.
Well, we'll be running a little bit more this time, but
I'm gonna share his contact
like
details too.
Yeah, have some.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you very much for coming in live.
Thank you. And,
Oh, listen, I love this.
that was,
He's 15.
Oh, he'll be
that'd be great.
Oh, he's all the time won't get up there and anybody but Crystal, because of the, wherever emergency radio is in the county and probably in the state.
That'd be great. We need, we have a few young people coming in all along, but there's a lot of us like myself that are getting old and gray, and we need to get some more youth. By the way, anybody can become a hand. There's people licensed from 9 to 90 or 100 or over. And I've had the fortune to make some real good contacts over the years. With one of the ones I remember especially, I was just happened to run across the guy one night that was retired from Bell Labs, and he was instrumental in the development of the transistor. So very interesting conversation. He was probably in his 80s, 70s, or 80s when I talked to him. But we have a local group that the volunteer examiners we can give the license exams locally. There's opportunities online to take the exam almost any day of the week. It's very easy. If anybody's interested, one of the other guys and I put together a training class last year for a group over in Georgia, and we did part of it online, part of it in person, so we're glad to try to help anybody that is interested. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
We also have Ms. Tammy Perry here today with the City of Health Industrial Board. You got anything, Tammy?
I just wanted to let you guys know I'm still here. I'm working. I try to at least once a month get out in all your districts, try to go to some kind of event, some kind of meeting. There's always something going on. And if there's something, that you want me to go to, please let me know. It just, I love it, and I love getting out and seeing all the nooks and crannies and different things we have going on and coming up. So sometimes I just have to get out and stop in at places to find out what's going on, and that's what I'm still trying to learn to do. So I just had a meeting today, the Department of Commerce come in, and I'm doing a mock RFI just to kind of have me better prepared for when businesses come in. And it's kind of just to have you ready for your presentation to show your property. So, maybe involving some of you in some of those, to answer some of those questions that I may need, but it's just kind of, you usually don't have a lot of time when you get those requests in. So this is just kind of to get us ready. It's something new with the Department of Commerce. So anyway, that's what I've been doing today. So if you guys need anything, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
When are they gonna pave that road down there, that sweet market or place?
I'm working on it now. Move your bunch of dirt the last 2 days.
I tell you what, that well.
That's all that back here is those potholes and paving roads.
I know it's there.
Every time I go to the liquor store.
I leave the liquor store. You
You tell it on you say it now.
That's a heck of a hole now.
Yeah, they've been moving, they've got it leveled out the last 2 days.
But the building, you guys, as well as you know,
Oh, yeah,
there's
it's looking
3
great.
pads out there now, so that's moving along, so.
Tammy, I want to bring you into this. I don't throw you under the bus.
Okay.
We talked about this before, and I've talked to the mayor about this before. There's a misunderstanding somewhere between us and the city about county state license and people who have a business license within the city limits. And I included him in an email recently, and I haven't heard a response back, but I included all of you in that twice. But there's either we're wrong or somehow, if you have a business within the city limits of Heflin, it's our opinion that you're supposed to have a state county license along with the city license. Then everybody's supposed to have a state county license.
Okay.
Where do you get to keep the license for the county?
In the probate office.
So they just need to come to your.
Yeah.
Now, just
Okay.
remember, when I remember, we was in the middle of this here license then. And at that time, the compliance officer would go and spot check.
Yes.
So that's probably where it has fell off, because nobody has followed up on the business.
In talking with the mayor, Robbie, he said, well, Ron, just to be honest, I don't know for sure. He said, I need to check with the league of municipalities. And that was his go-to. And he said, if y'all will check with the ACCA,
But you did check.
I did, and I got that information. And I referenced a point in there to check out, about the statement that every business is supposed to have a state license, unless they're a service business. Like, if you provide a service, like if you cut hangers, as long as you don't sell a product, you don't have to have a county license. But if you sell hairspray, then you have to. So lawyers don't have to have.
So we need to tell people, Tina, when they come, that you've also got to go and get.
And we're not, at least research and ask the league of municipalities, we need, I think that may be coming up, that there's a couple of businesses out there that says that all we gotta have is a city license, and in our opinion, that's not exactly true.
No,
So.
I would, it makes sense, I didn't know either, so.
When I had state line, I had to buy a county license, city license, both, and business privilege tax. They got 3 different licenses.
And our
Paying
compliance,
taxes to all of those,
and through the years, we didn't have a compliance officer, and when our first compliance officer was Mr. Smith, I don't remember, he's passed on, and he went, this has been 15 years ago, and he went and found several businesses in the city limits of Heflin and in the city limits of Ramburn who did not have a county license. And so he got them up to par. But since that time, we've kind of had a skip in a loss of, I guess, compliance or service in that. And so our new compliance officer is going to be going out really soon to check and see. So I just want to clear that up.
No,
some
and
way.
where do you find information on those rates, just so we kind of give people an idea?
How do we know how much they are?
It varies. The county license, there's a whole book. And it depends on, if you own a store,
It's kind of like ours, it depends on what.
It depends on what the product is. If you sell Coca-Cola, yes. And if you sell a deck of cards, it's another $2. If you sell, certain things, tobacco or anything like that, it runs the price up depending on what you're selling. But the cheapest is like a $2 license.
Okay.
You can buy a $2 license.
Because I do need to, because I'm working on a guide, like what to do, steps for business owners when you open a business.
And I'll try to include you on that email. But if you
please
kind
do.
of ask Robbie to look
Yeah,
into
because I haven't
it.
heard anything about that, so
Yeah,
that's.
but when you brought up businesses and everything, I
Yeah.
thought it'd be nice to include that. So he and I talked a couple of weeks ago about that, so.
And we do get a lot of county questions, this is kind of on a different subject, but I don't know how to answer a lot of them. And this, like, when people go out, when people need to have their power turned back on, they tell them that they need, an inspector to come out. Although Power tells them that, in the county.
And we don't have an inspector.
So who do they go to if they need to have their power turned back on?
We don't have an inspector.
I didn't know what to tell them.
Yeah.
There's no codes.
Like all you gotta have is an address.
We don't have
No
any
elemental power.
building permits.
I didn't
And
think, I knew that.
we've been told that you can't have power unless you have proper septic tanks, right? Y'all heard that before?
But that's not the case though, because if there's a power pole, already set there, they'll connect it whether there's sewage or not. If it's an old home place, they don't come in and recheck it. They just automatically hook the power up. And that old home place could have never even had a septic tank.
I don't know.
Hmm.
They don't even turn the power off.
So they probably just need to call out about the power back and just tell them
I was
that.
wrong, but I don't
Right.
have power bill,
Huh.
because they say they don't waste the labor to go turn it off.
I have
Right.
this for rental property too.
On the power company thing.
They don't get
City
the minimum
tanks,
on
I think the courts were
One of
running
them got a
us
street light.
20 years
I
ago.
wish they did one mine, I used to have my power.
So that's no longer an
That's
issue.
what Bobby White told me.
Just not ever go in
No
there.
longer can enforce that.
That's a lot of money.
But I will find out about that.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, you just kind of
But
remind
if
him, I know he's busy.
Forward that to me, he's out of town over last week, so just forward that to me and,
I will.
research it.
I know there's a lot going on, but I, this,
No, it's-
and
need to
not
know.
that we know that's to be the absolute truth, but between all of us, we can check it out. And
Old rabbits, I ain't seen no rats since that snake moved in.
You push up.
All right, Tracy with EMS, you got anything, Tracy?
I'm just here to see what she says and answer any questions if y'all have.
We have Miss Kelley Gillikin here with the ACCA and what is it? I always get the acronym.
Investing in Alabama counties program.
IC. I want to go with ICS.
I see that.
But come on up and speak to us, or do y'all have questions for her? I guess that's what we tell us where we're at.
Yeah, and I think, and y'all, I just took my mask off so y'all can see me.
You're fine.
I had an exposure last week, CDC says I can wear this, but I want everybody to see my face before I start talking. So, anyway, thank y'all for having me here. I really am, and I offered with Lisa, because I know that y'all are really now distilling down your ideas about how to move forward with your funds. I know we've got a water project that is now moving through. We'll start working on that and getting that money subawarded out to the water authority, so I'm real excited about that. And she had sent me some emails with several questions about different subjects, and so and when she was doing that, I said, why don't I just come up there and if there are projects under consideration, answer questions about eligibility, about mechanics, and when I say eligibility, we're always talking both under state and federal law. And when I say mechanics, we're talking procurement and how you actually get money if you're giving over to another entity or giving any property over to another entity. So that's kind of what I was here for. Lisa, I know you mentioned several things on the phone today, and I'll tell her. Is that okay? I'll just tell you the things you mentioned.
That's fine.
So one was potentially some road projects. The second was potentially funding or purchasing some equipment for the EMS vehicle. I thought she's showing what kind of equipment that is. Oh, well, third thing, animal shelter. Right. So I don't want to launch into like a monologue. I'd rather answer y'all's questions about those categories of projects and see if we can help y'all get the information you need, get me the information that I need as y'all decide to move forward with those projects. What you want to go with first?
EMS equipment probably one of these units.
Okay, sure. All right, so I understand, and I think the equipment that we're looking at is equipment, and I've got my back to you, so I'd rather step over here to talk. This is driving me crazy, and I'm sorry. Y'all don't think y'all okay? I actually don't mind masks, I don't like speaking in masks. So my understanding is it's two pieces of equipment that will go on a vehicle that I think you have a grant to purchase that vehicle, is that correct? One of them is a chest compression device. The other is a defibrillator.
It's, cardiac monitoring.
Okay. So it doesn't defibrillate?
It checks all the heart things and stuff. It
It's
does,
a monitor. And the compression is just the
it's
compression.
a Lucas device.
Yeah. So this situation, let me kind of take a step back. Y'all know, under the initial rule, the interim rule, the she had gone through.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Remember when we were under the first rule, that interim final rule, that oxymoron that we always talked about, where the uses had to be code related, all right? And at that point, it actually wasn't clear that doing something like this kind of project would be eligible. Under the final rule, it becomes more clear, and as well, you guys exercise the option to treat all of y'all's funds as revenue replacement funds. Remember that? So you can provide government services with those funds. So that's the federal side of it. And y'all are familiar with what I'm about to talk to you right now, which is the state side of it, which is we have a constitutional amendment that says you can't give a thing of value to another entity, association, etc. Typically with emergency services, you're not talking about overcoming that with what we call the public purpose doctrine. So we feel like you can overcome that prohibition with that. And then recently, the Attorney General actually overlaid another thing on top of that, is that we have to be able to point to statutory authority for you to kind of serve that public purpose. Providing emergency services in your community is within y'all's statutory and constitutional authority. So we can jump through those hoops if this is something y'all decide you want to fund. Now let's talk on the mechanics side. There's two things I want to talk about. You told me you got that $10,000+ grant from the state. And remember I said that you got that because you were a beneficiary and because it was based on how you were impacted, how the organization was impacted. All right, so that when you give money that way, it's very straightforward. The state needs to write a check, essentially. The way that this would work, if y'all chose to do this, because the EMS board, I'm assuming, is a separate board from the county commission itself, it'll have to be done in what we call a sub-award. And what that means, to be honest with you, is mechanics. We have to go through certain steps that we would take y'all through that ultimately would lead to an agreement with the EMS board. It's called a sub-award agreement. We'll write all that, we'll do all that, and y'all would approve it. And then it just is after that monitoring the performance. So in this situation, even though we're not giving funds, you would not be giving money. I'm assuming y'all are thinking of purchasing the equipment and then turning it over, right? I don't know how y'all plan to do it. If you should do it that way.
Which is the best way to do it?
So let me talk about the other mechanics. Procurement issues. I see that I saw the quotes that you got. And typically, I don't know how y'all are going. I don't think y'all are typically have to follow or do the state bid requirements. Very different with federal money. So we have to follow both the state bid requirements and the federal, which in this case would be the same because we're talking about $50,000. Is that right, Lisa?
It's close.
So that would have to be bid out with an invitation to bid, just like y'all normally have to bid out property that's over purchases that are over $15,000. Yes.
She said close. So what is close when you have to have it bid out?
Oh, anything over 15,000 or
Anything over 50.
Yeah. So it's she was saying my number was close. So let me go back about the sub-award of business, and I'm trying not to be too technical, but it's important that y'all have the technical information. When you sub-award something of value that you purchase with federal funds, or if you give somebody federal funds, you remain responsible, you, the commission, on how those funds are used. And for example, you would be responsible to make sure that the board followed procurement requirements. And so potentially the better way to do this to make sure y'all are in control of that procurement requirement would be for the commission to bid this out. That would be my recommendation. And then the equipment would then go pursuant to a sub-award agreement.
But the issue on this is not like a Chevrolet, a Ford, or a Dodge. It's a Zoll cardiac monitor. There's only one company in the entire country that makes those. That's why medical things are under different than Lucas device.
Potentially, there are multiple Lucas type devices out there. I've already done research on this in another case. So you bid specs out. And if there is only one company, you can't write it where just one company gets it, and we can help you with the bid specs.
Okay.
But federal funds, it is very hard to justify what you're calling a sole source contract for federal funds. So we will have to go through that bid process unless there's something out there that convinces us otherwise. Because I'm sure there are more than one type of machine that can monitor heart activity. It may not have exactly the
You
same
got
things.
life pack and goes up.
But, well, so I'm saying, yeah, it sounds like you got two. So it will have to be bid out.
But now, let me ask you this as well. When we had bid things, many years ago, is we still, even though one bid was higher than the other, we could take, as long as we could justify that bid, we could take it. Because, for example, our hospital board bought all of our fire departments defibrillators.
Mm-hmm.
Those are made to work with our cardiac monitors, which is the Zoll. So if we end up, and let's say the life pack is $500 cheaper, life pack doesn't do any good. That's what I'm trying to say.
And this is the same talk and discussions we've had because of people wanting to purchase radios. They go, oh, you got to buy Motorola because it's got a tie into if there is the potential for reprogramming, it is something we would have to explore. It is going to be very unlikely for something to be sole source. So it's something we can look into, but I'm just telling you, we'll have to meet those competition requirements unless there is an absolute slam dunk sole source situation. But we have not found one of those yet in the things that we've been working on other counties. So, but that's the process. And then after you set awarded, we'll have terms and conditions, performance measures, things like that. Essentially, you just got to make sure they're still using it for the purpose that they were using it for. Now, let me go to the back end of this. This is truly equipment that becomes depreciated, that you appreciate because of the value that we're talking about here. So, and I don't know, one of the things with federal awards, and I'm just making y'all conscious of this, is that when you use federal money to buy equipment, so, buildings or things like that, then eventually, if you sell that or you quit using it for the purpose that it's supposed to be used for, then you either have to give it back to the federal government or give the proceeds back. Unless Treasury tells us something different. Huh?
Also, it could be fully depreciated and then
That was not good information. So don't go there. But no, because it's the market value, it's not your book value.
Okay.
So the thing is, you're going to continue to use this until it's no longer useful to use. And at that point, whatever fair market value it is, we'll figure it out. But I just we'll have to have something like that in the agreement. And it is possible that Treasury is going to come back and say, nah, y'all just keep that on equipment. Don't worry about giving it back to us because it's going to be a lot of equipment. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. But my understanding is you just continue to use it. You have to insure it. You have to, and that's our sole award agreement would put in all of those property maintenance requirements that you would have.
Service plans.
All of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for him to get equipment that's compatible with his stuff, if other companies, once you write the specs in there, you put it's got to be compatible
But that
with
is,
his
yes.
equipment.
It's got to be compatible, but sometimes there's programming that will make it compatible. I'm just telling you, we would need to look into it some more. Because when the radio supplier kept telling counties, oh no, there's nothing else that's compatible, and no, you just do super programming. So, but we have to follow those requirements. So, it is something that is an approved use because you're going to be providing government services, emergency response services. We just have to dot all our I's and cross all our T's. And that's what we're here for. So the child will have to figure all that out.
But it's better for us to do the bidding process.
It's better for y'all to do the bidding process, and we will work. I have Kate Jessup, who's on our staff. She's the other attorney that I hired after I came on. She literally is a procurement expert. So she can help write the bid. She'll do the research and that we need to. She'll talk to you about the kinds of equipment you have. But again, we can't write the specs so narrowly that it would.
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day it's going to work out. But
it probably
how
will.
do you get those out? Because like I said, there's only 2 companies that's going to bid this.
Yeah. You mean you're going to bid for
how do you let
each piece of equipment?
Yeah, I mean, just
We
for simple process.
send the notice to them.
To those, to
The
Zoll and
invitation,
to.
yeah, we
Right.
send the invitation to bid as well as publishing it the way that we're supposed to, or posting it the way that we're supposed to.
Okay. And I can give, if you need it, I can give you my contact to.
Yeah,
our
and we
person.
will, once the commission determines that this is, if the commission determines this is something they want to do, what I would like to do is draft for you guys a resolution. I can go ahead and draft that, and then that's for y'all's consideration. It's a conditional appropriation of this money for this purpose, with those conditions that the procurement's right, that the sub-award is fully executed, and again, approved by y'all in the end.
Mr. Evans.
Well, we've been talking about it for about as long as I want to talk about it, as far as months we've been dealing with this. So if there's a resolution that you can put together, whether the commission wants to put it on new business or the agenda, I'm for moving forward with this on, we're going to talk about this a long time.
Well, I can do that, and with y'all's permission, what I would like to do is work with you, maybe get a summary of you of the benefits of this, why it's needed to ensure appropriate emergency response services in the county, and we'll get that from you.
All right.
Do you have a card that I can take to that?
I'll give you my name and number. We
If
can
you get a
afford
card, I'll
cards.
text it to you right now. Get this off our way.
25646.
Hey, oh, hey.
You
Can't see nothing.
He ain't not there.
I was gonna say,
Gotta put us on.
do you know know, while he's doing that why we have 10-digit telephone numbers, because that is actually the limit typically for a human to be able to remember a number easily.
I can barely remember 911.
No, the research shows it. That's just, okay, Ted Radio hours, sorry about that.
Okay, get to me.
256-466-8579. So, I think I've answered your question. I think it's eligible. We have to jump through those hoops.
Any other questions for Ms. Gillikin?
When you're buying, if you decide to buy some county equipment, is that a question that we want to talk about?
He's got county roads down here that he wants to know.
And I can talk about equipment as well. I also brought a copy of a PowerPoint that we presented to the engineers down at the conference in Orange Beach a month or so ago that talks about, it's just and then that give you kind of an overview of how you use ARPA funds for county road projects and equipment as well. I can talk about either one.
Chips, 3 county roads.
You say the chip spreader?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a long discussion before we can do the chip spreader. But the engineer had to go to the Berkshire and his son got his hair cut off.
Oh!
And, so he texted me this, what he was, and he's got a chip spreader, and then he's got 3 county roads, is what information he was on.
All right, so let me just talk about county roads. And if y'all remember, because I know when Sonny came up here, and when we had every discussion we had before the final rule came out, and people go, can I build roads with this? We go, no, can't do that. The reason you can do that now is because you have designated your funds as revenue replacement funds that you can use for government services. And that means you can use them, one of the examples they give is for pay-go road construction. You can't do a bond to build things, but pay-go road construction, you can use it for. Now, even though it's revenue replacement funds, and I think we've had this conversation, so bear with me when I repeat it, it is not just like your general fund money, like you normally go out and you say, I'm going to spend this general fund money, I'm going to spend it on that road, and y'all write checks and you do contracts. And some of them, and you would bid those out normally too for larger projects. So the federal, what they call cost principles, are still overlaid on this money. That means it needs to be reasonable. I can't believe that any of y'all would approve a roads project that was not needed, and that's essentially what reasonableness is. What it does impact is the procurement and the terms that have to go into the contracts with the people you contract with to do the roads. Tell me a little bit about your county. Does your county engineer do all the engineering work typically? Is that contracted out? Do y'all have to contract all the road construction services, or do you have your own equipment? Just give me an
I
idea.
think he does the engineering, but we contract out everything.
He'll do like the first stage as far as the size of the roads, prep.
Well,
He does the prep, our county does the prepping, and then another company comes in and does the resurface and
I think
paving.
we could save some money.
But you don't have like you don't have engineering services that you pay for outside, because that's good, because that's usually one of the hiccups is that if you're going to procure it.
If we're working on the bridge, he does.
Yeah, it's not a
Okay.
bridge. It's
So-
we're not gonna do a bridge, but we can't afford to do a bridge. We gotta go by federal regulations.
I know, I'm just saying that on some things you will do it.
All right, so the projects y'all are contemplating is not a bridge.
It's just
You wouldn't
roads.
have engineering, and the reason I wanted to, I have to find that out is, unlike under state law, for professional services like architecture and engineer, for the federal procurement requirements, you do have to use some kind of competition. But that's off the table. We don't have to worry about that issue, so that's a good thing. We talked about this, Lisa's familiar with this already because of the water project.
Right.
Yeah. So that means, Lisa, you bid it out just like any other public works project. Okay, you just have to follow those rules. What I would like to do is, again, it's just helpful to us if y'all do a resolution allocating a certain amount of funds to road projects and identify those. And Lisa will keep up with those in protocol just like we do everything else. The one thing that we will have to do, there are some contract terms, and terms and awards, conditions that attach to this money that we would want to put in the bid documents as well as into the contracts that are awarded. And again, Kate will work with you on all that. Does that help?
Yes.
What about, if you got a road and, I'm just gonna use me as an example, my portion of the funds won't pay for the whole road. But if I wait until next year and use some gas tax money and combine it with this, is that something you can do, or something you just need to say, okay, we're gonna do to right here and stop, and that's these funds, and if from here on, it's gonna be gas tax funds?
No, I think you can use funds, I mean, I think you could put it together, and this is Rebuild Alabama funds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we have to figure out probably how to segregate that somehow, but you can, pool funds. You can use these funds along with other revenues that are available to you for projects. We'll just have to deal with that in the way we get it out in the pre-finish. It's probably not going to be good. Oh, and speaking of public works, my understanding is you can use the same Rebuild Alabama bidding out process for that. Well, again, hey, we'll work on that. That procurement is not my area of expertise. I'm a tax person, you can answer that license question that he asked, but I won't.
That might be a good thing to do.
I worked for the Department of Revenue before I did this. So,
When
yeah.
they say you never ask a question, you don't.
Yeah, but I don't work for the Department of Revenue. I can't speak for them anymore, that's why I can't answer the question. But yes, very doable. Obviously, county roads are a big priority for counties, especially if they haven't to do it. But y'all are also looking at other projects that are going to be very impactful in other ways. Water projects, so it's a nice round way to do things. What I would suggest for you guys is how much is committed to the water project? $700,000. I would think what y'all really need to do, and it's y'all's job to do y'all's job, but a good way to approach this so you don't wind up not having money left over for something else that might come up, or just do some kind of in this session in an open meeting, just kind of come up with a rough plan of how you're allocating this money and what you're holding back. And I know we've had follow-up meetings about that because we shared that with y'all. So we have an idea, but so how much of the road projects are going to be what?
I don't have the whole figure, but I was just using another bid that we're going to look at tonight on another road, and so I know it's going to be more than what I've got. But like I said, we could just say up to this point and just stop, because we do that all the time,
You can do that. If that's an easier way for you to keep up with it.
66, I mean, I can do it.
Yeah, so you can say here from 46 at the crossroads, and then the crossroads on the different.
And what I'm thinking about is just, like I said, coming up with a round number for what you're allocating to road projects, so that again, we can do a resolution. These are government services or revenue replacement funds, but we're treating it and trying to help y'all keep records just like you did when you had the tighter restrictions on your money.
That's sort of what
Our
the
water
water
projects.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
water board came up with on that.
Yeah, I have. This is going to grow. Veronica, what y'all's total allocation? I should have that.
The grand total.
Yeah.
2.8.
2.8.
Yeah, so this plus roads plus that project and other things, I mean, y'all are well on the way to having a good plan that's spending this money in ways that they're gonna mean something.
And I don't know if you are quite aware that what they had decided to do, the remainder of the money after the IAC part, the part that goes to water, was to set aside $300,000 for kind of projects they've been talking about, and then dividing the rest amongst the districts to spend as the commissioners kind of see fit, but of course with approval with the rest of the commission.
Yeah.
So, and that was a way to try to evenly divide it across the county as far as services go.
And so it sounds like for your district, one of the things that you're focusing in is on this road. Other people may have other things they want to do.
But every issue has to come back before the board to be voted on,
Yeah.
Make sure.
And Lisa's, y'all, you have a jewel here, by the way, I want you to know that. She remains in constant contact, asking questions about eligibility and technical requirements, and that is so important, and y'all did a good job on that.
What about the animal shelter? That was one of our projects.
That's another thing. Okay, Lisa and I talked about this, and here, so let me lay my understanding of where we are. There are currently no animal control services in the county, no animal shelter. If pets or animals have to go, you have to transport them to another location, there's a fee involved. So is it a reasonable use of your revenue replacement funds to put, you know, to build something and put in a plan, something that will deal with animal control in your county? Yes, it is. I mean, that's one of the things the counties are supposed to do, is take care of animal control. We can get all, you know, it's an eligible use. The plan right now, as I understand it, is sort of in its early stages, or it's just sort of kind of still thinking about how this could work, with the idea, and if I'm mistaken, something tell me, potentially, that the county would actually construct a building that would be suitable for animal control, as well as shelter and, you know, and adoptions, all those things. And that then potentially you would contract with a third party, like a 501c3, to actually run it for you. And so am I in the right?
Yes, ma'am.
So Lisa and I were talking about this morning, and one of the most important things, so I can tell you today that you could use funds to build an animal shelter. If y'all had staff, you could staff it, and there was no other secondary kind of part of the plan that has to be done. But today I can't say, yeah, you could go ahead and build an animal shelter. For it to be a reasonable use of your federal funds, I think all the pieces need to be in place ahead of time, so that you've got a plan. It's not just you're going to build a building that you're not going to use because we don't have the 501c3 or somebody else to operate it. So I think that's going to be one of the most important things, is kind of fleshing out that plan. The other part that Lisa and I talked about, and I talked to another commissioner here, and I can't remember who it was, and I apologize for that. It was a youth, okay. Is design, worries about something being over-designed, making sure that whatever you build meets your needs, but it's not a Cadillac when you could have used it for. So we have, and we've just gotten the responses back from they're called program management companies, and we are engaging at least two of them to come out and work with counties in this very situation, where you've got a building that you want to build and a program that you want to start, but you kind of don't know where to start because you're not experts. Now, they won't be experts on animal shelters necessarily, but they will use their resources to figure it out. But they can help figure out basically what you need, and then an estimated cost based on that, and then take you through the design phase, which would be to review architects' plans to make sure that there's no design creep, that it actually really is what you need. So that resource should be in place within the next at least 2 weeks. We should be ready to go forward with that.
Now, is this another service that we will pay for?
No, you don't pay for it as part of your fee, you've already paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's suggested, I know like the group that is established in the 501c, they need to be in place first. Okay, they're working towards that. Again, the 501c takes a little time.
Yeah.
But there's a group of them, actually, I think they're going to meet in the next 2 weeks to see where they're all at.
And it does take some time, but also, remember, this is also about to be feasible for y'all to maintain. Can you contract with the federal funds for the next year and a half, or by the time this is built, it'll be a couple of years maybe, or even less? Using these federal funds for them to run this? Yes. What are you going to do when you don't, after December 31, 2024? Where are the funds going to come to contract? So that's not my call, but if you build a building with federal funds and you don't have a way to keep this government service going, it was not a reasonable use of your federal funds. So it is something from the federal side that you need to consider.
Well, most likely you'll have to have a board, guys, we appoint a board to look over the other agreement. Go ahead.
You were talking about the equipment for EMS, it would have to revert back to the federal government. What about this building?
Then we'll take these buildings back. I always do that as a qualifier. It'll be fine. And it's going to continue to be used for the purpose for which you built it. Now, if you changed it and made it into a nightclub for you to go after, after your commission meetings, you're gonna be in trouble. But if you keep using it as an animal shelter, it's okay. As long as you continue to use it as an animal shelter,
Okay,
it's yours forever.
But what if the 501c goes away and you have nobody to run it, then what happens?
Well, then we'll have to look and see if we need to sell it, or, yeah, what we have to do. But, and then at that point, whether the money has to go back to the federal government, that is a long time down the road. And I just don't know the answer from Treasury yet. Again, they're gonna, Treasury can say, no, anything y'all use, it's fine, as long as it was, reasonable and it's been used for reasonably for that purpose. But that's a question. We don't have the answer. They haven't even gotten around to thinking about that question.
Most people that have animal shelters, they don't have them. They have stuff with them. They'll spend money on an animal before they will anything.
It's true, but I guess from my point of view is, if it is feasible and for y'all to maintain the cost of operations, because essentially you're having the 501c3 run it for you. I mean, because they're gonna have expenses to run it. If it's feasible for your regular revenues and you anticipate that it is, then this would be a reasonable project and a reasonable expenditure of federal funds. And it also, it's consistent with state law, because under section 43.02 of the Constitution, y'all have the authority to do that.
Tracy has a question. Y'all okay with that?
Good.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I was just kind of curious, Alabama has a law where the counties are responsible for animal control. However, if you don't adopt that law, you're not responsible for the animal control. So if these guys want to move forward with that project, do they need to adopt that law? Because once they adopt that law, they're in the boat with it, like you said. But then, like Terry said, if this 501c3 fails, then they would either have to pay back the money that they put in it, or find somebody to come in and do the same thing, which you're not going to find.
I am looking at your authority to implement animal control measures, 4402, which is a separate law from what you're looking at. But that is another thing. I don't know that y'all have to adopt that to be able to use your statutory authority to actually provide those services. But good point, and I can look at.
I just wouldn't want to adopt it.
No, it's a
if I
wonderful
was
point.
sick.
Thank you. You know all this stuff.
It's gonna be a problem.
You've been in the county family a lot.
It's going to be a problem. I mean, I'm not saying
What
it's
you mean
me,
it's gonna be a problem?
there's a bunch of stray animals in
I
this
know.
county. I mean, every animal I have is a stray or offspring of a stray.
Feasible though, if it's a need.
I mean,
I know we have a bid, we have.
Walking trails.
was it something?
Walking trails.
Yeah.
That is something we can do again. It comes under the reasonableness standard. What area of the county is this?
Well, I don't know which trail, but which one is he referring
I don't
to?
know. So he just texted me this stuff right before the meeting started.
Yeah, can you give me some more information? on
Yeah,
that?
we just have a lot of trails in the county. We're more or less a tourist attraction in that sense,
I think he's got
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
grant.
We have the Geiger Trail, the
Mhm.
bike trail, those are, and we have Pinhole, we have Horse Trail. we have-
Calhoun has some of that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We also have the
That's something that.
River Trail. River Trail.
So
And you know, the money.
can we figure out how to use that
The
money?
money that is.
We actually see
The
the-
If there's a need, yeah, if there's a need.
Yeah, and I mean, because that helps us, comes to the general health and safety and welfare of your citizens. It's just, what I try to do in these resolutions where y'all are using these funds for government services is come up with some narrative that lays it out for the auditors.
Just being able to
Yeah,
explain.
and it also depends what we're doing under, because if you do it under economic development, under 772, we have to do a different advertisement, process. I have to know that.
It all reminds me of creative writing in English. Creative, how we use everything.
You should see me when I was making up all those narratives for y'all's report that y'all filed. It was my creative lawyer marketing skills. So,
Any other questions? Any other projects? Think about? Basically, it's something that she mentioned economic development, anything that can promote economic development, but also within reason. Like pickleball courts, yes.
pickleball courts. Now, I mean, if it's at your community rec center, and it's something it's think of what you would normally do with your tax revenues, what you would authority do. Let me do step back and say there are 5 things you can't spend it on. You can't make like a large contribution to your pension fund. You can't put it in a rainy day fund. You can't pay off debt with it. You cannot do it to invest in a project that will frustrate the CDC guidance on maintaining, not spreading COVID. So that's, I said 5 years, but Lisa knows that she's making this. So there's some things that y'all wouldn't spend it on anyway, but it's really, the only reason for those contributions, besides the COVID-19 issue, is they want to make sure you're actually providing government services and paying debt.
Another thing is storage for weapons over at the jail. That's something would be mostly a block building with a roof on it and a light in it. I don't think there'd be a lot of engineering on that.
What about your AC for the courthouse?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's on
No,
my list.
she did not, it's been talked about.
See, they got those sort of things.
We've got about 4 units that we need to get changed out of the courthouse as far as heating and cooling units. If you're gonna send those guys out and look at those units, evaluate, see if we can use some of that money. We got one that's on its last leg.
You definitely can use that money because again, you're now using it for government services, but we still want them to come do the architects to come and engineers to come look so that we know that you're getting a system that actually is going to mitigate the spread of airborne germs.
Yeah, but some of the stuff, they put the hammer, I don't know why, but sometimes it's a little more work, but they put all the units in the floor and some of the offices are so small, it'd be nice if they were mounted. Well, I always make mine from the ceiling like that, but yeah, I actually about 3 or 4 units at the courthouse I'd like to, one is, I was thinking I was going to have to rip it out last couple of weeks ago.
If it's something, yeah, so I mean, if y'all, if something seriously considered, we've got that survey to fill out, to get the maintenance person at the courthouse to fill out as much as they can. And then send that survey, we'll need the plans for the courthouse.
We got a floor plan.
If you have them, if
We
you
got a
have
floor
them.
plan.
So you'd be surprised, people have found old copies of it. If there is no plan, if there are no plans available, they can.
I have just a floor plan that would work for what you.
You can send me that, but they're probably gonna wanna do a scan of the building, but I don't know, I can do that.
That's where the cost gets into a lot of it, not when you have to hire an engineer, of course,
But this service is free.
Well, the actual inspection up front to give you.
Not the scan of the building.
No,
No.
we pay for that too.
You pay for the scan of the courthouse?
Yes.
We want to get that done.
You also explained it.
That's why, please look for the plans if you can find them, because it's very expensive.
All right, let me tell you,
It's
I've been
use
here,
of money that we can do
over
something else
10
with.
years, and I have looked for those plans from daylight to dawn.
And again, and I will say this, because these fees that y'all have paid are, so we're trying to use them for all counties to do.
So they're gonna scan the whole outside of the courthouse
No,
off?
I think it's inside, I don't know how it works, they do it along the wall, I don't know.
I did a old historical building in Atlanta, it's amazing when they get through doing it. But when it's done and it's on that CAD, you go to any situation in the building and deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna scan my building, then that's worth more than
But, and what we
ACCA.
ask is that if you were seriously considering.
We're serious about that. We want that, if you're gonna scan that building, we're gonna
But,
get it.
I mean, I'm going forward with the project, so,
Yeah, so if I do something on that side, like something, so we get the outside scan too,
I don't know what to do that.
when you gonna send them out?
You gotta give me stuff I need first, and I want you to look at those plans.
Okay, I don't.
The floor plans may be fine, I don't know, just send
Send what you have.
Send-
and then
send-
they'll tell you what you
what you have.
What I figured about the jail is as soon as it gets paid off, we get $30 court fee, and I figured we'd do another bond on that jail to upgrade what's needs to happen in here.
It pays off on the outside.
Yeah.
So right now, we're just looking at the courthouse potential.
Well, we've been looking at some work at the jail too, but this money, goes so far, it don't take, when we talk about these things, we need to figure out.
I mean, we've had ventilation projects that are estimated to cost over $1 million. I mean, these are, because they're not just putting in the cheapest thing, they're putting in things that are handling the air properly and having the right outside air sources and.
Oh, believe me, I know.
Yeah, So it's not cheap, but it's important. I mean, these are people, your public visits there.
Well, most of our units are just conventional units with a thermostat. They were running about 6,500. Now I think the price I got the other day for the one on the roof is 11,000.
Yeah,
So they've doubled.
yeah.
And ever since our wonderful president come into office.
Your wonderful president gave you this money.
Yeah, we're paying for it big time.
We'll pay it back plus interest.
Amen.
Yeah, we'll never get it paid back.
No, I'm just messing with you.
All right, anything else?
Just, so just do a survey on the stuff that we will get done, like those air handler units.
Yeah, there's some technical questions. They'll answer anything that y'all can't answer, they'll answer when they get out there, but it helps them know what that and the plans helps them plan for the evaluation they're going to do when they get there.
They will do 2 of those at no cost, right?
2 buildings, yes.
So if you want the jail done too, you need to fill paperwork out for jail too.
Okay, well, do those two. Now, I have the drawings for the jail. It's deep. And I finally found the correct drawings for this building just a little while back when I was doing this out here, so.
You think that, you have a lot of trouble with that other building, we got the extension office. And you need there, or what about the coroner's office?
Well, the coroner's office is a good, that needs, I mean, all of our buildings are old. So, right now, we've got a makeshift coroner's office. As a matter of fact, Tracy was our coroner when we started on that. But when you bring people in, and you know, they got a loved one there, it is sort of tight when you go in there and there's so much stuff piled up, and so,
When we rebuild the jail, we'll add that to the jail.
that sounds good.
Well, and again.
So which two you want to look at? You want to look at the jail or just the courthouse?
I mean, like I said, they'll do 2, 3, so whatever you want.
Well, the jail just got drawings, but that doesn't matter if they have. I just love to get that courthouse skin.
Well, and again, I don't want to like misrepresent what that skin is, so don't be too excited.
Well, when we come, I will find out what it is. Okay, well,
and you know, this is, like you said, the money is not endless, but in
well, I think what the commission has set aside, let me just do the courthouse and the extension office then. The jail, if we do the jail, I've got that leaking off it, so.
I was about to say, this is a very good thing to spend your money on, because it's improving the health and well-being of your citizens and your employees, so it's a great use of this money. And one that is never questioned, by the way. And again, if we do that, and we'll talk more about the procurement issues, because again, for the A&E services, architect engineer, we have to get quotes, or we probably quotes in this case.
Well, do you want to set aside $200,000?
This is what I'm saying about coming up with a formula. So I think that, if I made the suggestion, that probably
What she's talking about is
the next step. And
$87,000.
then once we know y'all want to go and go.
Those guys, you see, little detail.
Yeah, I need a little more detail on the trail stuff. We can move forward with the air conditioning stuff. Once we get that started, working on the water. Once y'all pass that resolution, we'll get that in place. I was just missing that area, don't know. But I'm happy, I'm sorry, well, it's so good, we'd love to get out.
And it's pretty obvious that you were dated up.
This is a great question. We have a big, the silent, hi. Did you have any questions?
I'm so smart.
You're
I
too.
don't need to ask.
That's what I figured. What wisdom can you impart to me?
In my part of the county, see, it's rural, we don't have a courthouse, we don't have anything, so I was more interested in the road repair, repaving, that sort of thing. And when Terry was discussing it, it cleared it up for me. So, no, I don't have any questions.
Well, that's a
And
good thing.
thank you for explaining all this to us.
You could just give me your point, I'm not worried about it.
If you're having trouble spending it.
I can spend it, give you a problem.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
We appreciate you coming.
Yes.
And I'm not rushing y'all, I'm here for y'all.
We think you should secretary the meeting.
No, I will say.
I don't want you on Highway 99.
Well, you know, it's so funny, because this is my sweet Sonny that I love so much, and y'all all know him. He's such a good person. He goes, "You're gonna have to drive back by yourself." I said, "Sonny, I've driven all over the state, litigating all over." He goes, "No, don't you want me to go with you?" I said, "Sonny, I'm fine." He was so concerned about me driving back.
Well, his family's from this county.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, when he married into it.
It's probably coming for a free
Mr.
meal.
Perry,
Yeah.
Mr. Perry, who has the, fireworks, yeah, this
If
is.
you talk to him after lunch, he probably changed his mind, because I was on the phone with him all morning.
Oh, were you? Okay.
He probably didn't want to come.
He had plenty on his plate, he was just being very, you know how he is.
Yeah.
This is all family, and he likes to take care of us, so.
We was doing a lot of texting, but he's helping me a lot.
Well, we love working with you guys, again, she stays in contact, we love the ones who call and ask us questions all the time, so we like that. And, we will get forward, I will do, when is y'all's next meeting?
We'll have a meeting next Tuesday.
I'll try to, if I get his resolution, I'll try to go over, it's not complicated, especially if he gives me some language about the narrative of the project. You've got the fillable form, do you want me to send that to you as a way? Okay. So, and then on the roads, we'll just wait for y'all to kind of figure out what you want to do.
Let me ask you
A
another
dollar
question,
amount.
which is something we're gonna discuss later on in the meeting. About garbage service, is there any way you can use any of this?
Is that a government service?
I mean, we have a
No,
law,
yes.
yeah, we have a law that says you have to have
Yeah.
garbage pickup.
You can do that, you can do that, you can use this money for that. Again, you can contract with somebody to provide that service for you, you have to go through the procurement issues that we talked about. But then it's again, after December 31, 2024, just be aware of that, it will stop.
Well, I was just like,
Oh, okay.
like a whip.
Oh,
You'll be able to
I
do
think
that.
it come in.
equipment for garbage,
Yeah, like a garbage truck or a transfer station or something like that.
yeah, as long as we go through the procurement process. Let me do mention equipment, since you said that, so if y'all, I am gonna talk to y'all about that. Procurement for equipment, because equipment, a lot of those pieces of equipment get over $250,000. And actually, the equipment might be $125, but you order two of them. The examiners have told us that with the overlay of the federal procurement requirements, if it's 250 or over, then two things, you can only get it two ways. The county has to actually bid it out themselves, or if it's something that we have on the ACCA joint bid, we can do it through that. So be conscious of that. If when you get over that price point, you can't use those cooperative purchasing agreements for that. So, and then even if it's less than that, they're getting real sticky about those cooperative purchasing agreements. So we would need to, if it's something you start looking into, work with us, because we'll actually look at the contract that they put out for the cooperative bid and go through some things to make sure you're okay.
On an HVAC unit, since it sounds like to me that the state has done a lot of these, the kind of systems that we're talking about, that's got the filtering of the air and making it safe for people to breathe, whatever, and, or if they don't probably shorten their life. But anyway, like just in our old courthouses, y'all deal with a bunch of old courthouses. So like in our courthouse that runs upstairs, it's only a 5-ton unit. So, is there a package or something that y'all have online with these air filtered systems that we can look at to sort of give us an idea of what the cost of it is? Because if I knew that, let's just say for this, right, like I just said, right now, the basic unit is I got 11.5, something like that.
These folks come out, they're gonna tell you.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering about. So they probably got packages that will be able
It's
to.
not packages, they're gonna give you parameters that you need to follow in the design for the new system to make it, but then they also give you an estimated cost.
Okay. That sounds good. That's about 4 or 5 in there.
Yeah, y'all also got contractors
That does it.
that'll do it, right? Or I went to some more meeting in Montgomery, but y'all were talking about actually having people that would do the work or would bid on the work, or I never really understand.
No, so what we have is that we have actually we did an RFQ, for architects and engineers for these kinds of HVAC projects. So we already have quotes from them for their fees. If the fees are gonna be less than $250,000, you can use those quotes that we've already gotten. And then it's the architect, they're the one that take over after that, the architect and engineer, and go through all that. And
Just
then
remember
work with you on the
too,
bidding
on
process.
most units that gets installed, for the warranty to hold up, and probably for this program that we're fixing to be under, it has to be serviced and maintained by another agreement on changing of the filter and coming out and giving it a month or 6 months check up. I'm just explaining this on a lot of warranties that I've dealt with in high-rise buildings that I worked on, with the company that installs it, services it. So when you talk about somebody in Montgomery, we just need to think about that with $5 a gallon.
It's not necessarily somebody from Montgomery.
I'm just saying from wherever, not
Yeah,
our local guys,
okay,
I'm talking about
not
our local
local
guys.
guys.
We have 4 contractors, and probably what I'm gonna do is we'll see what your guys say, and then we'll sort of give it to them to see how interested that they can do it. Because some of our contractors does a lot of commercial work that we got local here.
And that's fine, what you're gonna get back from JMR, let's just say, which I've never said, can say that properly, is not specs, because otherwise they couldn't come back and potentially be the architects or the engineers on the project. It is these are the things that your system currently doesn't have, that it needs to ensure mitigation of airborne germs. And so these are the things that need to do. And then the person that's actually going to do the specs would be the engineer or the architect that you hire after that.
So,
And then you can you just bid it out like you would normally do it.
But if we do use.
so they did the scan of my first 2 buildings. Then I can use, do I have to, if I go over here and start working, say at the, if we do another unit at the extension office, does it have to be scanned, or can I say this is the system we need and these are the points that we need? I'll talk to them when it comes.
You've lost it. Because the scan, they just want the plans so that they can do a true evaluation of the system. This has nothing to do with them creating drawings.
Well, I understand that. They give me the boundaries, like at the courthouse, like they come in and do a scan of it, and they say, well, in this area, this is the system that we require. This is the filtering system.
Yeah, no, that's not what they're saying in this report. They're not telling you which filtering system to use. They're saying, they won't say you need to use ABC filtering. So these are you need to have more fresh air moving into your system. It's a broad enough design concept that then an architect goes, okay, these are the things I have to work into my plan for this.
Okay.
It's what you're gonna have to have, so if we're questioned, they'll say, hey, that's what they needed, the money's fine.
And again, now that y'all are doing for government services, it's really easier, but we still want y'all, if you're going to pursue these projects, to put in a system that's going to be healthy for the employees and the public. That's why we're still, honestly, you can put in any system you want now, using your government services money, as long as it was reasonably priced. But we wanted to continue offering this service to you guys to give you the technical advice about the airflow and the things that would make it consistent with CDC guidance and OSHA guidance.
Wait a minute now, so, just to look this, I'm fine, I'm gonna meet with the guys. But you just said that we could also go with replacing what's there.
Yeah, you could. But we were
But I
offering.
thought we used this money, we had to.
But that was when it was under the more restricted uses. What I'm telling you though, what we want to do is, if you're going to spend your federal money on this is something we were already planning to provide you. But if it's something that you're not going to follow once you get it, probably don't want to.
I'd like to follow it in the courtroom upstairs, but there's just some that's sitting, if I can do this, that, we know we ain't gonna be able to run that Cadillac in every one of our spaces. So I've got 4 or 5 units. All I'm saying is, just tell the commission that I will get with some get some contractors to come in and price 5 units instead of just one. That way they bring the crane and we replace all 4 of them at one time. That's a one-time charge for my crane. And I sat down for 4 grand.
You're still gonna have to bid it out, you're still gonna.
Yeah, that's
It's federal
fine.
money, so you can't, you
Okay.
know, you gotta go bid it out, you gotta have an architect.
Let's let these guys come.
Yeah.
It's free.
Get my skin in there.
Well, it's not free, we pay.
Working with it.
You pay for it, but
Yeah.
but I think it's still an important service that we're providing,
Yeah.
and we wanted to continue to do. But the only thing the only, proviso that if it's not something you're gonna do, then let us use that money in another way for you guys, that's simple.
The easiest,
This will be a money well spent on that courthouse.
the easiest way to spend this money is to pay the road.
I'm not gonna say that.
I mean, from everything I've heard, it sort of sounds familiar.
Well, you know what you're saying, it's the most familiar thing, because it's
So you're not
legit.
dealing with us anymore, you're not dealing with those
And
extras.
you're not
And
gonna-
none of the
government's
stuff
not
that y'all
ever
are talking
taking back.
about, except for Tracy, I'm sorry.
Tracy.
Except for that potential project in the water, so, and again, it's mechanics, it's not rocket science, it's just when the auditors come and look, they're gonna make sure that you get a risk assessment before you do the seven one, that's what we have to do. They're gonna make sure you have the agreement, that it has all the terms and conditions that have to be there, all the technical nitty-gritty stuff, so we're gonna make sure that happens. We are gonna make sure that happens.
Thank you for coming.
All right, that help?
Thank you.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Guys, y'all need a break, y'all ready to go?
All ready?
Alright.
We're going home. Oh.
No, I mean, y'all need a break, or you ready to go?
Let's
We are
go.
actually the Association of County Law, as far as I know, city that is doing this in the nation. So we just did a special program for Lee County.
Just let our guests know, y'all don't feel like
I
you're
didn't know that.
concrete in. If you need to slip out, nobody will get upset. You're welcome to stay.
We're the lead contracted with this.
I'm sure it's not
It's-
good.
it's-
Tracy, that was about $27. You got it?
All right. Thank you.
That was interesting. Ms. Perry.
Let me know, any more information, who else?
Okay. If you'll leave me, I think you left that, I'll put that in Crystal's mailbox too. Going forward, what I have, Marcia Busby, I think I sent y'all a letter about that. She would like to speak, so I put her on the agenda. Anybody else y'all have that needs to speak coming up on the agenda?
I think I can answer a question, where do they, have they got their funding from in the past?
You know, everything they ever had for the state, they had come before and asked. Apparently there's something that the state will take care of, you know, and she needs to let her know.
This is sort of like office supplies for here in the county, right? Michelle's talking about $1,000.
Yeah, she's just asking
I think,
for help. Now, I'm like you know, it's a state thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running 8% inflation, then the state should increase their budget.
Hey, I just want you to know,
Well,
Marcia and I, we graduated together, we're good friends. On this deal, I'm not her advocate. She just asked, can I speak to y'all?
That's fine.
And
I mean, they do, what they do is great, and I'm not gonna knock it at all, but we gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Because once you do that, you ain't never gonna go back, it's just gonna keep going up. And if the state's supposed to do it, we'll let the state do it.
I think that's what was said before in the past. But I don't, but she's asking a professional to come speak to you all, and she wrote that letter, so.
I think sometimes having a little skin in the game too helps out a lot too. If we're talking about the service, it's the dollars that they do contribute from state money, it's sort of a team effort. To say, them we're saying, well, hey, why is the lights not on? Because our biggest problem is they're never at home, right? So, to entice them, that little bit of money, I know it sounds like a lot of big things, I guess, but.
Well, and I think that's part of her presentation, to talk about some of the services they provide, and what kind of, we kind of forget about, too, what kind of funding, state funding comes in that, and how that state funding from anything from the cards that are old food stamps, it's not food stamps anymore, but cards and that money, how much money comes, she's gonna give us some numbers, how much money that impacts our local economy.
That even comes through the agriculture, the food stamp comes through the agriculture department.
Yeah, but it still comes to the VA,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, double that.
I'm sure they're getting funding from more than one department in the state, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, and that's some of the things she wants to talk about too, so. I want to mention something to you. I don't know, and Mr. Hill, I don't know what the long range plan, I know it's in your district, of the Masonic Hall at the, Sheila Finney. We're not using it as voting. We're running out of space in storage. It seems like we don't have no storage. I wonder if we could use that as storage, if y'all could discuss that.
Who's with you?
Me,
Okay.
me and Fred have talked about it. I talked about it with Fred. That might be something y'all consider. Just think about it.
I'll give a suggestion on that.
I know this got brought up, I think, when I was at the workman's comp, board or something, and you may can answer this, when you take those voting machines somewhere like that, do you have a liability insurance on them where if somebody broke in, damaged them, if a fire, that those machines are gonna be replaced by insurance?
That, I suppose, all of that, if it happened at the warehouse, if it happened anywhere, would be under our liability insurance.
I would make sure to check on that, because in one of the cases that they went over, that was one of the things that was not insured, was the voting machines, and they were damaged by
So
fire.
we can check with ACCA.
So that's something that we need to make sure that we have.
Especially when we put them out on Monday night before the meeting,
Yeah.
and that happens in another firehouse or something.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And that there's insurance on them, we just need to make sure that they're insured.
What I'd like to say is, can you sell something and put a cap on what you're gonna sell it for? If they don't at least bring that, then it don't get sold. Will you come up with a number, the commission? I'm just saying, if we sold that to Sonic Lodge, because that's a long ways for us to start hauling stuff, lagger and all. And we got plenty of land over behind the jail. Go ahead and sell that thing, because I thought, we was gonna continue to use it. And then build something closer to the courthouse, and we build a 30 by 40 with a slab and lights warehouse. It's a little different when you're building a warehouse than when you're building an office building. And that thing down there will never be nothing but a headache.
What kind of security are you talking about for whatever kind of?
Well, I wasn't trying to say put voting stuff down there.
The courthouse is packed full.
The warehouse is packed full.
Yeah, well, our warehouse is packed full and
And I can't work, it's getting harder to work on. The other day, I was working on election machines, and from one day to the next, the coroner comes in and he's moved all my stuff over so he can get a body in. So we're just at a spot, and I'm not complaining, it's just, we've
been cleaning, and if you go down there, you've seen the cleaning stuff we got down there.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what these bodies, that's one of the things I had brought us about.
Good to see you.
If it was just to stand on what would be neat is to, but the aggravation of fooling with that building down there is if we could say, we want at least this much, and right now would be a good time to try to sell it, because somebody could go in there and do a couple, and do a couple apartments where, whatever, I don't care what they do with it, as long as they bought it, and then take the proceeds of that and go over behind the jail. But right there behind,
Be a Jason question,
yeah, well, I think we can sell it on the how much, but, the way our property is used up, well, we can put that metal building right out there in front of the jail, on that big open lot we got right there. I mean, that'd be a good place, but one of the things that it is going down by the county barn and where Lee's office is, the city's property starts right there behind Lee's trailer, right there at the water meter, and it runs all the way back down to 46. So when we was talking about this dog pound, or whatever the heck it's called, animal shelter, I went and met with Robert Brown, and we talked about building a road going back in there. And now naturally, I would love to build the road all the way down next to where
There's an old road back
there it is, but it runs across the property like this. So it's good that it's there, but when you get down to where the funeral, the graveyard is, it'd be better if the road was over there, and then you go back there and build a little place over there, because Robbie said that he would get with the council members about deeding us that property, you know, if we did that. But if not, I'd still love to build a road on this side, right there behind that, behind Lee's place, but Lee asked me to give him 20 or 30 feet of tree line and go back there, because we got all that property back there. But for what Ryan is doing, and to be out in the open, I really wouldn't want to put it back there, but for all the files from there is step right there, you know, when you come around on the far side to the left of the jail, it's coming off that paved road right there on the upper end. And grade off and put just a metal building, period.
Well, and I didn't know, I just wondered,
But there's a lot of people.
we're not really using that building, and I know we've got a lot of extra stuff, you know, we got product in there
It could be totally.
that come from COVID. We got cases of hand sanitizer in there.
Well, I think this office here is stacked full of it, man. I mean, I don't know why they ain't being handed out, why we're just stockpiling it.
Well,
I really use it.
some of the product is people don't like it. It smells like whiskey. Some of it may be sticky. You can have at least, you know, none of the office.
So you're not gonna put anybody up there.
You're not.
You got to tell me that.
But I'm just saying, we got stacks of stuff in there. You got a lot of carpet. We've got a lot of extra desks.
Yeah.
And it's getting harder to maintain, you know, election. And I only do that three times a year.
Well, you can't, you gotta call the man, and then come up with a trailer loaded up. Now, we just got through last year, either last year or year before last, we hauled out 3 truckloads out of that building.
Well, if it's got a county sticker, we can, what is it called?
But the problem is, it's no different than, if you go
Surplus,
downstairs down there is computers stacked to the ceiling. But the department head that's put it down there has got to go down and do the sheet to sign it off. And maybe we do a resolution where each department head has got to sign somebody to get with me and Fred to get rid of it. Then, because right now they just say, well, I won't get to it. Well, if you go down there, you'll see enough stuff for 19 911
Just
centers.
put a resolution.
Put us a resolution
Put
on
a
there.
resolution
That's
on
what
there.
we do.
Give them 90 days or whatever, say if it's not picked up by then we'll load it up and take it back to their
The
office.
only one I ever had that would show up with work pants on, she's not with us anymore, and she'd go down there with a pad and a pen, that was Kim, wouldn't she? You remember she'd go down there, I was coming there, and I mean sweat was running off her nose. That's when she was working,
Is
working with
Is
us.
any of this paper documents or
She
anything?
was there, she
There
had
are
a
some
bunch of
books.
stuff.
Is it something that could be digitized and destroyed, or is it something that's gotta remain the way it is, or?
The revenue commissioner has some books down there. I have some books. I have some records down there. There's 4 different rooms that all have different things in them, and I couldn't tell you. I can tell you kind of what's in mine. But then we have a lot of extra stuff. I know that we don't own the voting machines. We lease those, but we do own the express vote.
So on that, if they got destroyed, if we just leased them, who is responsible for it?
You know, I don't.
Because ACCA is not, right?
Yeah, we need to find out.
I don't know what our lease is on that agreement on that with the
Something
ES&M.
that came up in meeting that was discussed about the cost. But most counties aren't aware that they need to make sure that everything is insured, not just assume it's insured, but you need to make sure all of your equipment is insured.
And another thing you think about, and which They look good to start with, but the longevity of using them, you know, you buy those portable buildings that come, you just set it up, one end of it's got a roll-up door on it, and then, you know, 6 months later, the floor's knocked out.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is on the building stuff, we're, you know, but
Well, I just didn't know, down there you got that whole empty area, I didn't know if we could move some of the stuff out of the old warehouse. I know you got a lot, I say you, but I say we have a lot of carpet that you've been able to get, that could be used for something else at a later date, but that might be a good storage area for it. But
yeah.
We're back to the sign lot. I had hoped that the community would, and they did, embrace the fact that they could use that building for a senior center or activity center or something. I brought that back to the commission, and all of a sudden it became a liability issue. Oh, no, we can't do that. And then they gave me these forms that everyone going in the building, they've got to sign this form. I had a group of men that wanted to go in and remodel the building, you know.
Right.
Well, they had a form they had to sign that all the work would be done to a certain standard, which we don't even have a building inspector.
Well, one thing of it is, I believe, if somebody would come up, I think if the 501c is produced, then it can be handed over on a,
lease, what the county did years ago with like the Abernathy Fire Department, it was leased to the fire department. So the fire department came liable. I mean, they had to have insurance on it and everything, because the county just leased it to them. With like, the one that I'm working on now, the one that I did at Rosewood, they own their building, but they're 501c. They have to establish that 501c before the county before you can contribute money towards your discretionary funds. To help restore it, to turn it into a
you
community
get grants for
building.
it,
You can get grants for it. Once they become that 501c, they're more eligible for grants.
but how
And they can lease it for $1.
how can it be turned into
Well, there has to be a group of people, just like the animal shelter, like Rosewood, like the church community that I'm working on now. There has to be a group. There's 12 in this new group that I formed, and they all have to responsibility. They're creating a 501c. They have to go get a lawyer to create that 501c. Once they do that, then the county can turn around and do a lease, and that gives them the liability.
That's where we went into this. We went into this 2 different times. One time before you come in office, one time they come in office, and then it goes to that they gotta have $1 million worth of insurance.
Well, there is-
telling you what.
I mean, you have to have,
Attorney said.
we just had, like the Rosewood community, this is a small insurance policy. We're still waiting for them to give us the amount on the insurance for the new Hope Community Center. It's not, I think the one at Rosewood is less than $200 a year.
Well, the 501(c)(3) it's not an overnight thing, and then they have to have, churches have them, but churches have title money, so, but it's a lot of times it's fundraising and stuff.
Right, like Rosewood, they started out with just nearly nothing, but when, the building was re-established, would be rented out, then they started having funds, now I think they've got like $6,000 in their account, and it was just fundraisers.
They have a car show.
Yeah, car show, barbecue sale, but it's a group of people that everybody just kind of get together, and I know the people down there worked hard, but they've got to create that 501c. Just like there's a couple people from your area that is planning on setting up the animal shelter, the 501c that's established there.
Well, I didn't mean to open a can of worms. I just know we got that building down there, and it's got a new roof on it. And if we could put some things that don't have to be checked on all the time.
At this point, I would say use it if you could use the building, use it.
Okay.
And it'd be great if you could get a group of people to put it back to use. It'd be great.
I mean, we definitely could move some stuff out of the warehouse that we don't use all the time, but it would.
But you don't wanna move the boat stuff, right?
No, I wanna keep the boat close, you know, cause it's at least,
Well, let's do two things.
somebody's in that warehouse at least once a week.
Let's start this, because there's some stuff in there that really don't need to be in there. I think it belongs to the old museum. I
Yeah,
think there's just some stuff like that.
they come out of the chambers.
Let's do something that, to say, if you got stuff that's not, like,
Do a resolution and everybody
Okay.
needs to look at your stuff.
okay, yeah.
And
And evaluate what we need to clean out, what we need to clean out.
Inventory.
And then, we got our inmates are back now, so we can go down and move a lot of this stuff around and get it out of there.
But in the meantime, if something comes up, all this can still be reversed, but I don't think anything's gonna happen overnight. So,
Right.
but at least we can always,
But Tuesday, we can get the ball rolling and get some of that stuff out. And I'll get with, we've got, I want to try to finish up sealing all these decks before they fall apart.
okay.
And then, we'll go down there and we'll, since you brought it to us, then we'll get with you first. And we'll spend the day, or you can send somebody, but it'd be nice if you had the other guy that you lost. Who you got that can come down there that knows your stuff, April? Or you?
Probably me.
Okay.
I can go swimming.
I go in there and
He
see.
comes down all the time. I got some pictures of him down there one day, boy, I tell you
Yeah,
what. I was
surprised.
like, I run and grab the water hose, I thought I was going to lay him down. And not only that, it was, what's her name? The Laura? Laura. She was with you that day. I had a couple of your workers leave.
Oh, yeah, we had 2 or 3 down there one day.
They were all red faced. Lori.
I had Lori and Kayla down there both.
And Ryan was like this, and them curves were running back and
Come on, man. All right, so we're looking at, can we do, how's the resolution, y'all wanna make a resolution to temporary use that as a storage place?
Well, you want to see how much we're gonna clean that?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, once we see.
You wanna wait on this?
Well,
or
no,
wait?
you can use that carpet.
You what?
You might use some of that carpet down there, and we move the carpet down.
Don't let that work on it. It's got to be done to code. So, open to it. You go ahead and store your stuff.
What we gonna store
You're
is,
still gonna do a clean out.
Yeah, let's do our clean out.
Resolution for a clean out.
The what now?
A resolution for a reevaluation of,
Materials in the storage building behind the library.
Put a time limit on it too, because you don't know what we're gonna do.
well,
30 days.
we.
And this ain't, but I'm gonna tell you, you know, everybody takes that thing the wrong way. I mean, I'm just hearing now.
If you can put a deadline on it though, a lot of stuff is coming.
We're just running out of space.
Okay.
So for now, the resolution is just to have the reevaluation of what's in storage and they got,
Clean up, clean
If
up.
they
don't
need
say
it,
90 days.
if they need it, they need to let everybody know, and if they don't need it, they need to figure out how to dispose of it.
Within the next, if they would be, and it ain't like we're asking them, if they would just meet with us down there and spend a few hours to say, this can go, this can go, this can go, this can go. Then at that moment, we'll do a requisition form. If it's not a certain amount of money, we can just dispose of it, is what I understand it now. But they must be 20 printers in there, ain't they, Ryan?
Yeah.
And them printers have been there since I've been
Ain't no good.
Yeah,
there. So,
but they could be taken to, what is it, you have places that take electronic,
you
There's people that come out and pick it up too.
Yeah, I'll be glad for that. And I tell you, the last truckload that they hauled out there, that guy come all the way from Montgomery. He come up here and pulled up with a trailer and everything, and we loaded into him, we loaded. So, and then what happens is a refrigerator goes out, a copier goes out, everything goes in there. Walk down the stairs sometime, you'll get a second, and walk down, and all the stuff is stacked up back here. I mean, you can't even get in the back garage door back there.
Yeah, that's right.
And I thought that, But this here's gonna take care of that too. So we need to make sure it's also considered this building here too. Storage
On
and
county buildings, that's the jail, the courthouse.
definitely when we start getting moved out.
That'll be all county buildings. Police office.
And sure, I'm gonna try to recycle or do with the suggestion that they said about having some, especially if somebody's gonna come pick it up, but it's gotta be a requisition form before it can leave. It's got a sticker on it, we gotta have that form. And, then I will get with Fred tomorrow, and we'll get this, and tell him what to be expected. But right now, it would take nothing if some of it, the way that our convenience centers are set up, we'll throw them in whichever bin they say throw them in.
Speaking of which, that we had last month, Joyce had actually asked permission to get rid of a few things that were stored in her office. I guess it was a couple stools and some chairs that were broken and a little L-shaped desk that she had. And she had asked us last month to actually put down on the agenda. It was kind of last minute, so, we didn't get down there, but, y'all.
And just call her, and maybe reach out to her and say, hey, the commissioner's putting together a resolution down at the warehouse that we're gonna be emptying it out, and that we want to coordinate getting a lot of this stuff thrown away and all that. We've done this 3 or 4 times over the past 10 years, haven't we?
Every county bill.
All right, now what do you have on our list that we're looking at
We
voting
have
on?
a representative from Avenue is coming next week. I've been kind of asking her a couple of examples of problems that we've had, and she's gonna be just providing questions. I kind of felt like it was best to go ahead and let one of those people come up here so that your concerns about whether, the collections, what we're paying for collections is actually what we're paying, and we have 2 contracts that are up for renewal. They're actually past due for renewal. Fireworks and lodging, we need to get those taken care of. They'll continue to collect that till we tell them not to, but we do need to get our contracts straightened out with that too.
I invited
That is,
Chad Dillon, the Board of Education, to, I think, just in case he had a chance to meet, I don't know if he'll show or not.
what we want in general?
No.
Okay.
But he
You
can,
want to speak?
I can recognize him with our agenda.
Yeah, because he's the
official.
elected official, so.
So I've got, right now, I've got Avenue and I've got, Marshall Husband, right?
With DHR. She's DHR.
Could you reach out
Executive Director.
to whoever they're gonna send and tell them, I would like to hear an explanation about the 205 incident that happened about 4 years ago. That they couldn't collect the money and they never could give us a reason why they couldn't collect the money, and, it was a screw up from start to finish.
I may have to give them more information if it's somebody that's new, that doesn't know anything about it. But, I do know some folks that are with Avenue that have been there for a long time, just don't know if they're aware of it, depends on their department, their area.
That's the reason I said, do the research so they can explain to
They'll
us.
dig into it.
I never really understand the whole deal.
Yeah, we used to get a report, and we haven't got one, and,
Yeah, we used to get a report on
that will
who's
show who's,
on certain times.
who is behind, who hasn't paid.
I can do that anytime.
And we used to get that report regularly.
Print it off.
That, and then we used to, the lady doesn't give us a report either anymore. We used to get a report on all roads, that had been turned in, what's been done, and what's not been done. We haven't been given that. We haven't got that report in the last 2 years.
And that was by resolution too.
That report you're talking about, Avenue, I think that, just, I go on there, and they've got a number, that's a number of court where you can go in and out reports.
Yeah.
That's a
Just
lot
make
of,
sure they know that mine's paid to the state of Alabama.
Actually, they asked me a specific incident where I knew someone was paying for the state, and because I brought that up as a problem that we have, and they asked for a specific incident, and I said, can you give me a business plan? I said, absolutely, I can. I just have to get out one right company, and so, she's supposed to be looking into that, so.
they need to explain to us how they resolve it.
I get a letter every month that they're they're not paying, I'm like, guys.
And it doesn't seem like it's sporadic. Like, I've gotten a list of who's behind, but I usually don't get a list. But it's not like I can't access it, I can get the information off but if they're gonna email it, they should email that once a month, you know, and that's kind of, you pay them and you hope that, you think there should be some level of service that you get for that payment, so. I'm gonna talk, that's an issue that I have with them, not as a business owner, but that's an issue that I have with the administrative side, is that they should be sending us 8, just a heads up, these 8 businesses are behind 10 days on their payment, or whatever,
What are they saying, like other business paying directly to the state on, NAT instead of paying towards them?
See, I don't know how they track between the two. And I realize that there's probably is a little time lag, like I can understand why if someone may pay through that, or maybe for just a little short period of time, that Avenue might not know that. It should be pretty quick because everything's electronic now, it shouldn't be a week's time that they have to wait to know that. I've got a list and, not too long ago about some past new businesses, and I'm going, but what if they pay them out? And that is exactly when they sent that list to me. I turned around and popped the message back and said, how can we ensure that these people have already paid through that system to the Alabama Department of Revenue? And they're like, we're gonna look into this issue and we'll talk to you at your meeting, and so.
Yeah, that's what blows my mind, because like I said, they're sending me letters saying I'm behind. Communication with the state?
They should, that should be, and like I said, I think that information is pretty public as far as,
But you have to pay them the 20th of the month.
Right.
And if you pay with Alabama, if I pay a few days in advance, I get a discount. So I usually pay a couple days in advance and I get that discount.
Well, I think it's a good reason that we need to have them come here and be put on the spot, and we ask questions, hard questions that they need to give answers for. Before we start renewing contracts with them, we know they're cheaper as far as their collections. We know that we save money by using Avenue. But not if they're not doing the collections, and not if they're not keeping proper records of who's paid. All you do is aggravate your business owners, then they get resentment, they don't want to pay at all, and then,
They don't even know if the ones that's paying.
There's a lot of these businesses that we got that's out here, usually they borrowed money, and they got money on it. And this is probably a Jason question, but it's no different than where I used to work. People come in and put a lien against the property. Can the county not put a lien against their property? Let me tell you, if it ever changes hands, it comes time to settle, you're gonna get your money. At least, and it really affects them. I just went through one the other day because they had called and asked me for some help, and it's a big deal when you get a lien, and it was just over $9,000, and it just can't follow through the crack. I just told the guys, go down to the city of Atlanta, and I guarantee you get your money in just a few days.
The issue on some of these is they don't own, all they're doing is leasing the building. They just own the merchandise inside the store.
I'm not a lawyer, but I think that's actually gonna be theft, because they're collecting it and they're not passing it on, so I think that'll be a theft issue with Jason.
But like I said, a lot of these, they don't own the building.
Okay, I got you.
Hey,
Yes.
I just got a text from Lee, he said his son's pinky on his right hand is only holding on by 10%. They're transferring to Atlanta, and I'm gonna try to save him.
Which son? One of them's an all-star right now.
Ethan, I think.
Yeah, that's the one.
How did he do it, did he say?
Riding in a go-kart, had his hand out slapping the grass, and it hit something that bit back.
Yeah, some of those stops to get them.
Gosh.
That makes it hurt for him.
Yes.
Move
Is that
on.
all you got?
We'll say a prayer for him.
That's
What else we got on the agenda?
Let's see. The Avenue took care of Joyce's surplus items, which will leave with the same.
You want to talk?
We don't talk about trash. We said something about talking about waste management, there's anything we can do with that.
We're gonna have a big discussion about that.
Okay, and my other question was, another in coordination with JSU for rental of this room over here. I get questions, and I even get questions from Dick Conroy, and I'm like, okay, who's making these decisions? Like, he asked, because the Alpha Farmers Federation wants to use the room, and they already use their office bit, but they don't want to clean up.
And what?
They don't want to clean up. It's gonna be late, and they get done, they don't want to clean up.
They want to hire it.
They weren't hired.
Okay, we can do that.
They just pay you.
Can we hire it out?
Just charge them a fee is what I would suggest, and then we'll just have it cleaned in the house. No different, which, the church people, they do, you can't even really tell other than one thing.
Good, I hope.
Oh, they really, the good thing about it is they're keeping our ice machine and everything, like, how them women are, they scrub that dead, I guess, so I'm happy with that.
I'm just asking because.
Can we just come up with a fee, a clean fee, they don't, say $100?
A flat fee for.
Just, it needs to go into the general fund, we'll just have it done in the house. Simple as that.
Okay.
It's $100 fee.
Clean up,
$100
Just put that money in your budget.
I know that we need to put that in the agenda, but.
it ain't gonna hit my budget at this point,
Who pays the guy that cleans this up here?
all of us.
Well, that's everything, just divided up.
That's what I said, just order it out for him.
Yeah,
And he does a good job. I had him at it the other day, so I've had to go back and look at, hey, he gets sassy on him.
okay. What about?
He's a cleaner.
He does a great job. He has no personality.
He sure does.
Yeah, you can't carry on conversation. He's a nice guy,
I
though.
walked by and I said, good morning. He said, I'm doing my job. Did he do you that way?
Scare him.
No, I think he was mad. He don't
I
mind.
say, how you doing? It's another day. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what he is. Grant writer, did we ever come up with another grant writer?
Have not been getting any information. People are saying that they've tried some of the same things that we are. A lot of grant writings getting done in-house. They're just winging it. They don't really have a grant writer. A lot of people are put out of East Alabama just like we are. I have not found in the community consultants, I came up several times, I'm like, they're not taking any people that way.
I mean,
So what are we paying a fee now for grant writing?
we pay a fee for each grant if we get the grant.
If you get the grant.
Well, let me say this, when Steve was here, Steve was Jack State, and you remember that? And he had a guy come in and they sat here writing grants. That's back when we still had the CSAP money.
What's the guy over at Deco?
Osmond.
Yeah, see, I had talked to him the other day, and you know how it is, he can't say, this is what we do, this is what we do, but he goes around the mountain to get back over here. If you get a certain damn grant writer, then that thing gets moved on top.
But that was the class we was in the other day, wasn't it? About the way he was talking about
If you
grant
can't
writing.
get anyone to take you, you're still stuck.
I think it's just, I'm finding there's just a lack of service, there's a lack of people that are companies that
And
do
the
that.
bigger grant writers are like, be like in the bigger Huntsville, Montgomery, they're not gonna take it.
But they warned us before this money's come out, there was gonna be a shortage.
It's a problem, it's a real problem, and what you're finding is that you're getting, at the city level, you're getting city clerks and things like that are doing their own grant writing, and they're not experts, they're filling in the blank and hoping for the best.
And East Alabama used to be good.
Christmas
when they
does
had-
their own grant.
Back when they
When they had
So we've got
the,
to,
I can't remember the name, she dedicated herself to
talking
it.
about too.
But now it's like they keep changing. There's somebody different every time you turn around.
They had two different
That's
ladies.
And they do not finish, they do not finish the
They don't
process.
finish up.
And one of the things that is, one of the biggest things that I heard in the meeting we were in, before you turn a stone or do anything, contact us to get some guidance. What's the lady's name?
I could just figure it out. Her mother got real
You got,
sick,
you,
and she had to go
I
out,
bet your-
go out, her daddy. Her
So
daddy got
daddy,
real
so
sick.
daddy.
That was a lady that about 3
Diane.
days ago.
Diane,
Diane.
yeah,
It's the same
Diane.
person.
And she
Great.
was awesome, I mean, she worked hard. But with Tyler and them, they had so many switch up, and they don't stay on top of it.
Well, Diane, she would be, she would make sure you got everything.
Well, she'd come in with a box and it'd have all your files in it.
And Diane
This
was
is
big
your
at our
business
meetings.
files.
She always came to our
Oh, yeah.
meetings, too.
I've dealt with her.
I was at the city council meeting for Randers back last year, and one of the ladies that's working there now, she never even wrote anything down on a piece of paper. She just sat there and said, yeah, okay, got it, walk out. Now, either she got a photograph of Mingry or she didn't give it to her. I sort of lean towards she didn't give it to her.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
our lady that was handling the city beachy stuff, she left for a couple months, she had a baby and was out. Well, they had a person that kind of stepped in and took over, and she trained him, and he was kind of doing her thing while she was gone. Well, in the middle of that, there had been 3, like, pay requests sent in, and usually you don't send another pay request in before you've already got the payment for the first one. It's usually a pretty quick process. Once you get it sent into East Alabama, they do their part, send it to ACCA, and you get a check in just, a week or 2. It's not usually a very long process. And I was like, what in the world? And I was like, okay, it's because she's out right now. It's just taking a little bit longer. Well, time rocked on. She was back from having her baby. She was like, I've got this pay request that says number 6, and it should be on number 3. I'm like, oh, no, ma'am, we have sent in several pay requests. They had put those in the drawer, she didn't even know that they existed. They had never been sent to ADECA, had never been anything done to them.
You know, one of those water grants, almost, Tyler almost lives full time.
Yes,
That Mike was working on.
I do know about that.
And we were calling, we got, Mike called today, I called next.
It was such a mess, and they had because of all these pay requests being done in order, you've got your reduced amount that's left, or the reduced balance was all messed up. And it was just, it took Mike and I both sitting down, because he knew what had been done, what had been turned in, and had Evan, the engineer, on the phone. And we ended up on the phone with East Alabama to finally get, but even their spreadsheets were wrong, totally wrong. I never saw that with Diane. She always, she knew to the penny what you had left. You could probably call them the old time sheet to you was left from your grant. So it's just ridiculous that you can't get any service.
So we got everything, you have anything else on your list?
No, sir, I don't.
So Lee's got a list, and everybody's got a copy of that. Resolution for County Road 363 35. Y'all know what that resolution on?
I don't want a resolution right now myself, 63.
Say again?
I don't want a resolution right now for mine.
Oh, 63?
Yeah, I don't know about what everybody else wants.
35.
Well, what's on the list for?
Because he
That's
wants
what
he
he
wants to
road
know
projects.
if he wants to know if he needs to be contacting somebody for bids. But I don't want mine to be that right now.
Well, these roads on the transportation plan list.
This is what.
Well, you said one was awarded here.
That's the,
Forty-one.
That was-
41.
That was a gas tax money last year.
Okay.
These 3 up here is, I guess he's talked to you and Laura and me.
Those are
And that's the roads for the,
the money that we have set aside for each commissioner that still has to come back to the commission to vote on.
Oh, okay, well, that's,
So,
we don't wait.
I guess County Road 3, is that yours, right? If you want a resolution for him to get to bid it out, then you need a resolution.
Is that the road you want work done?
Or if you know, if you want it done right now, or you want to wait.
And you'll need a
It's not
resolution from
one.
IAC.
It's not one
This
of
money
those.
you're using
Well,
for the ARPA money, correct?
Yeah, we need a resolution to start the process.
But now,
What?
one of these may be, these roads may be, what do you call connector, what do you call main connector roads?
Major collectors?
Major, yeah, clip.
These are not.
These are major.
3 is
Three?
coming out of Clay County.
That's 11, isn't it?
That is 11, but 3 also comes out.
324? Yeah, 3.
I mean,
Well, he just needs a resolution.
Is 3 right there, when you come out of Barstow, it cuts through right there? Is that where you are?
3 comes out of Shinbone.
Oh, okay.
3 is in pretty good shape, except it's got a few bad spots. And I did talk to Lee about let the contractor come and give a price for
That house.
You might need to clarify that.
A resolution, still not a resolution.
Kim, you don't want 63, mark it out, right?
I mean, I want 63, but I don't want it started right now.
Okay, so can we put this on new business, and then you guys can decide, and we can, and you can always make an amendment, take it off, or whatever, let somebody know right before the meeting, at least we'll have it set in the queue.
It's just gonna be a resolution to start the process, because the IEC is gonna actually do the resolution.
Okay. You good with that?
I might have a resolution from Kelley.
I had asked Lee to
Yes.
get a contractor to give a price on the bad spots.
Okay.
Like in front of Sprayberry's house.
Right.
Yeah, he's already
So,
done
yeah,
it, he's had it.
if we need a resolution to do that, yeah.
It keeps going up, but
All right, well, we can always-
it's been on the list for
The track.
years, so.
Now, the Ward County Road 41, which is the Red Hall Road to Chilton contract, that's already been done, right?
That's where you rebid it out, you know, they bid it, and then you rebid it to try to get the price down, but yeah, that's it, so we just need a resolution to accept it.
So consent
That
agenda
part of
good
the
with
money
that?
that was already set aside.
That's part of that's the gas tax money that we sent in the 3 projects last year, which I don't know if the other 2 projects gonna get done, because this right here can take the majority of it.
When you say it's all the whatever money that was set aside for y'all's projects.
998,000, and we only got what, 1.1. So my project ain't gonna get done. Well, this is partly my project, mine project.
Consent agenda or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Closure of County Road 290, I'm not,
That is the portion of, over there in Muscadine. He's already sent the paperwork out.
it's already been in the paper.
He's already done that process.
Do we need to have a, what is it,
Public hearing.
public hearing?
Public hearing on it.
So let's put that on new business.
Yeah.
Okay.
He, like I said, he's already sent their letters out, but it's just a portion of it. It's behind Muscadine Church. Just 2
Okay.
landowners.
We'll just put that on new business. Purchase of a chip spreader, y'all know what it's gonna cost?
I don't want one, so I don't care what it costs.
I haven't,
Me and Liz done had that
hasn't
discussion.
discussed it with me, so I haven't
Can
known.
we put this on new business? He's asking to be on the resolution, I mean, y'all can take it off or whatever.
Why just put it on new business?
New business good? Cause you're not far, you
I'm
wouldn't
gonna
do
go
it
ahead.
initially.
Well, what it is the chip shredder he's got, he says want to adjust down enough to do the fine top layer that he's wasting too much gravel on. Well, I made the suggestion that if you let me look at it, I'll tell him I can fix it, or either make a part to go on it. But he wants a new one, I said, no, I'm gonna pull it.
Put a shield on it, that'd not be bad.
I mean, it's just a gate, you can add some onto the gate.
I just know that
So it's not going down far enough to spread out.
That was my understanding.
on 82, when they did that, there was so much gravel, and then once the gravel's gone, you got hose over because they didn't have enough of tire down to even
I think this issue was for that top layer, little fine gravel, is what he wants
We
this
put
for.
ticks, because it didn't, with the tag.
Well, let's-
That's what it's not.
Just put it on new business and y'all
Yeah,
will
discuss it.
file out. Before we get into this other issues, y'all all got an email from Mike McCormick about Radio 7 Link. Now, my point on that, he's our newspaper guy. If a department head wants that, then the department head needs to come to us about that.
I think he discussed it with Lee the day we was over opening up the convenience center at Ranburn, but
Do you guys want to let him speak or not? Because that's what he's asking for, is to speak and try to sell y'all on that. But I think he needs to sell it to Lee, and Lee will in turn say, hey, this is something I can see benefit of. That's my opinion. But y'all tell me what you want to do.
I don't think Lee wanted it. I think he just went along with it because he is a newspaper guy.
What y'all let him speak then?
What is it he's trying?
He's trying to sell a product. I think it's a conflict of interest. He's a newspaper guy and
Is it ProLink or what is it? What is it?
We don't need to go there, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Well, if y'all don't want him on the agenda, I'll put him on the agenda. I just,
So, new Southern Link radios.
So,
I would like to discuss this with dear commissioners. I would like to discuss with you the new Southern Link radios could be an asset to the Cleburne County Highway Department. I was talking with your engineer a couple of weeks ago about communications.
He needs to go talk to Lee about it, and let Lee bring it.
well,
It's a big, y'all all got a copy.
Yeah, I got a copy of it. I don't, we got,
Me personally, I'm not for it, but,
okay. All right.
I mean, if he wants to come talk to us, that's fine. I'll just,
Well, I mean, we don't let other salesmen
no, I don't.
in that sense.
because I
But
don't.
that's for him, that's for the road department, not, I mean, it wouldn't do you no good.
yesterday.
That's for individual department.
And that's why I will say the commission decided that if Lee wants that, then.
He needs to bring it.
Mhm.
Let's see. Yeah, yours is the very first one.
Just say it
Well, there's where-
Call 19572@AOL.com. Moving on.
All right. So I said that, I just want to see how y'all felt about that.
I mean, if he wants to come talk to us,
Well, I think it ought to come, if it benefited all the departments and our administration up here needed it, 911 needed it, and everybody needed it. If it's just for the road department, then he needs to get with Lee, and Lee needs to bring it to the commission, period.
sounds
And
good.
that eliminates it.
Okay. All right, so, moving into garbage issues. Now, we got problems there. I don't know what the answer is to that.
The garbage issue is that I think he talked to Laura and Laura talked, and he reached out to, I think, 3 other garbage contractors. And I think I talked to him about terminating what we had.
Yeah, it's just got so bad.
And the numbers he got back was $80 to $90 per quarter.
Yeah, $24 and $25 a month.
I'd probably still pay that. I would, but I don't know anybody else would.
But now he still has not reached out to the one in Cedar Town.
Well, you can't blame them, at least on me.
And he also told me, I don't know if he told you or not, that they said any contract that they do will have, it'll be
Fuel.
attached to the, not only fuel, but attached to the GDP. The GDP, maybe I got my letter from, the federal index anyway.
CPI.
So, I mean,
A lot of them do
you're
that.
pretty much gonna have a 1-year contract if you're gonna allow them to come back after a year and then readjust everything, so. Here was, I brought this up several months ago about using the convenience centers as garbage drop off, which Lee said it would work, but he's not really for it.
I think that would be out of control. I mean, you're taking household garbage. We're not equipped to take household garbage.
He can have dumpsters set up, and he said it could be done, but that one is top choice. Okay, today, me and him talked, what if we do it in-house? We would have to have 2 garbage trucks and what do you call it, where they drop it off for a big truck to pick it up.
Transfer station.
Transfer station.
But then you have the issue that we're having already, and that from what Lee said about the other garbage companies also, is employees. They can't get employees to do this.
I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're just looking for alternatives,
I mean,
right?
they're all, it's all either way,
But-
you've got employees
Then you
issues.
have to pay for, I guess, a fee to take it to movies
It's
or
gotta be
somewhere like
taken
that.
somewhere, and then, then you've got to pay insurance on these employees. So either way, you're still fighting the battle.
So you're saying, what one of Terry's suggestion is,
I'm not suggesting, I'm just throwing out ideas, you know.
3 different.
well, let's say an idea.
I don't wanna be tied to some of this now, even though.
So what you're saying is have dumpsters set up somewhere where people will bring their trash?
Carroll County does this. Carroll County is way bigger than us. That's what they do. They have designated areas in each district.
I've been to counties that does it.
Okay, well, we could do it with our existing convenience centers, but it would be a separate deal, separate dumpsters, but we could use that property.
Right.
But then you run into a situation where your older people, I don't know how they would get it there.
Yeah, that-
Exactly, and we got a lot of.
well, let me say this to you too, just so we know. If your trash gets picked up at the county once a week, everybody's got to understand until something changes, gas is gonna be $5 a gallon by the end of summer.
No,
So the haul,
it's gonna be $5 a gallon by Fourth of July.
whenever it's gonna be, I'm just saying, it's gonna be
Oh,
$5,
they
right?
don't know.
So what I'm saying is, they're not gonna save money, and I think it's gonna have to be some kind of, understanding, people understand that you can't get this trash picked up. And on,
There ain't no, when somebody calls you about a garbage issue, there ain't no reasoning with them.
Ain't what?
There ain't any reasoning with them. They're pissed off, you didn't get my damn garbage Thursday at 10 o'clock. And then you try to tell them, hey, the contract says weekly, it don't say Thursday at 10 o'clock. And then they get mad about that. It's a no-win situation, and when you go from $47 to $75 or $80, this thing right here, somebody else is gonna get it. I'm gonna leave it up here for maximum.
Some counties do their own garbage pickup. I was in a class and Elmore County does theirs and they actually make money.
Well, now, how do you charge though, if you're doing it like Carroll County, how do you make money enough to pay for
The county pays, the citizens don't pay anything, that's just in with their taxes that they pay.
So how can we afford it? How can we afford that without raising the tax?
without raising the millage thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just.
Yeah, I know, I agree, you
Yeah.
said. And then now,
If
if you
Carroll
take,
County can do it, I'm sure we could figure out some way to do it.
So,
and then like if you get your, maybe 2 trucks, you could charge a bill. Then you'd have to have billing, and you'd have to have somebody else gonna do that too.
And I know nobody wants to hear this either, but if you set up a transfer station and you do have enough open landfill, they may actually make it. So, but nobody I know wants to talk about that.
Well, we need landfill. We need that CD landfill.
But that's the difference.
Landfill,
Kind of landfill,
there's a
isn't it?
lot of problems with landfills.
well, the thing, if you find a landfill, if you find a piece of property that is on a state highway, I will not agree to anybody putting a landfill on a county road. If you come off a state highway, so if you find some land out there, I would look at or look at helping with it, but to go back down there, where everybody's gonna be coming to that landfill, all through into a, oh, Lord.
Well,
Let's.
back to the garbage.
Yeah, there you go.
The convenience center down there, close to Hollis, we don't want any household garbage in that stinking up the neighborhood, you know?
Yeah.
And I
Well,
don't
that
even
won't
have
work.
it, yeah, I still don't even have a convenience center yet. So,
Well, they got
and I
this
have
one
one of the
here.
largest rural areas out there. So you know, you've got to send that truck all the way up to Boulder Springs and pick up all that area and all these dirt roads. I mean, these garbage companies, I mean, they have roads traveled. Guess what? They had to have a truck to come in and pull them out last week, 2 of them. When it rained, because they got stuck.
Okay, so the reason this got brought up, and I'm not trying to cut anybody off, but here, if you're gonna do something, you can't wait the 90 days before you're gonna do it. So we need to do something this summer if we're gonna change something. If we're not gonna change anything, then we just need to accept that we're gonna get cussed for a year following the new contract for doubling everybody's bill. With our service not being any better than what it is, because the shit's just not gonna get any better. I mean, you know.
Y'all wanna vote on it? 3 different options? Is there another, I don't guess there's another.
Let's not be voting. Let's just, if we're gonna do something, we need to do it by July or August.
And he's still got to look out to the company over in Seavertown, hasn't reached out to them yet.
I don't think.
And I'm sure they're all gonna be because of the gas price. I mean,
It's gonna be
inflation.
expensive. It ain't gonna,
Either
even if we
way,
did, it's gonna be expensive.
But waste
some people
management, I think even it's the point that everybody's got a sour taste for waste management. Waste management has done a horrible job. Republic, before waste management took over, was beginning to level out. Everything was looking doing so much better, but waste management has come in and just totally screwed everything up.
But I thought they bought the company out.
Well,
They done it.
They thought we
Waste-
were now.
Waste Management is the biggest company in the lower 48.
And they don't care.
Yes.
Cleburne County is 15,000 people. I mean, we lower than low. If, you know, if they lose us, they don't, you know, ain't no sweat on them. So, but it don't matter what company we go with, that's a local company that maybe has a little pride,
That-
that's gonna be different. But if you're talking about getting rid of Waste Management in the middle of the contract, then you're looking at 8 weeks of garbage, somebody's gonna go out there and pick up between the transitions.
I don't think the cost, no, I don't think we're gonna be able to, because of the cost, that we're gonna have to, unfortunately, suffer through it until the contract comes up. But hopefully, we'll get a new company. Waste Management's not one that we
Where do
know.
they dump the trucks now? When the truck gets full of trash?
We go to Newton.
They have to take it to Moody,
I think it is.
maybe,
All the way to them?
yeah, all the way.
See, if we had a transfer station here,
You
they
know,
would
they
pay,
about what big trucks maybe.
they would pay us to use a transfer station if we had one here in the county. And they would bring the cost of the bills down too.
Can we do both? We can bid it out and still have a transfer.
Where can we put a transfer station?
I got land too.
You know, we talked about that a year ago.
I mean, all it is a big old building.
It's a big difference when you talk about a transfer station and you talk about the waste being buried out there and opening it back up to
A
everybody.
transfer station is just a big old building, truck backs in, dumps the crap out,
Uh,
there's a chute that goes down, and then they load it back on a tractor trailer truck, you know? It's just a
So
concrete.
how much
floor.
trash would they have out there at one time, a month's worth? I mean, that's
They probably
something.
haul it away weekly, I'm sure, but I don't know any
Do
specific.
you have to,
But there's
I
no
have to-
savings if you hauling it away.
I have to own
You
it.
might as well keep it in the truck and haul it on week.
where do you own it to?
Anston going, or
It
Kelley.
doesn't know, I mean, because those people that lives around there needs to know, be aware, and how long is it gonna stay there? You know, there's a lot to
But,
be answered.
but y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we're looking at doing something like this is not something you flip a light switch. This is something that needs to be started this summer.
Start planning.
Yeah.
All
Let
right.
me ask you another question then. If you're talking about just a transfer station, and we talked about, you know, letting the people have a say-so in it, is there any way that, in November, that we're talking about a transfer station, let the people vote on it?
You can't get through anything through legislature to get it added.
It's too late for
There's
them.
nothing to be voted on.
This like, yeah.
Traffic gotta go somewhere.
The contract's up in October of 23,
Yeah.
23?
They won't dump their trash on somebody else.
next year, October 23. So, I mean, we just need to figure out what we're gonna do. Because once we get into January, February, you're at their mercy. Whoever comes in with the lowest bid, if it's $100, you're at their mercy. If we're looking at making a change, it's gotta be done this summer. Gotta be started this summer. This is all my opinion, may not be worth nothing to nobody, but when we get over there and everybody starts, we open them envelopes and it's $90 and $100 and the service ain't gonna be no better, you stuck then.
Yeah, if you get stuck with waste management again, because, you know, their track record's not been great.
I want to check on something for you guys. I know a family that's been in the trash hauling business for a lot of years. They still have a lot of their own equipment, roll-offs, trucks, everything.
Well, our
See, Wise just went
Our
up
roll
on
off
me.
is our, you get the company.
Yeah, Wise just went up
They
on
do.
me, and they're a smaller one, but they're not equipped to haul out through, they're not equipped to go pick up out through the county.
They don't go on ours when the contract's up too, so they don't like neighbors.
There's 3 options, bid, or 4 options. Bid, pick up ourselves, garbage site, or transfer station.
Yeah, I don't think we need to vote on it, Ryan, I think we just.
Well, I know, but I want y'all to, I wanna write it down so we can at least talk about it. Y'all need to think about it.
And, Watersheds is the next on the lease list. I've been on the phone. Huh?
I mean, I thought we were not move forward with anything on the watershed.
We are not doing any work that they're sending us letters on. But at some point, somebody's gonna have to know who owns them. I sent all this stuff to Sonny, and me and Sonny's been talking, we talked a lot this morning. He's got his attorneys looking at it. We're trying to determine ownership. State says we own them, federal government says we own them. We don't have no damn paperwork says we own them because they dug up crap from back in the 50s, and all these resolutions that got passed didn't say anything about ownership. It just said,
One time.
yeah, we'll help you establish it. Most of them didn't even say nothing about maintaining. And so there's a question of ownership. All of them in my district, you can't even get to them because the landowners won't even let you drive across the property. But anyway, Sonny is trying to help us with that. Even though he has already called a meeting and the feds wouldn't even show up for the meeting.
The federal's gonna push it down on us.
Well, that's what we need to know. And if that's the point, then we're gonna have to do something crazy. We're gonna have to start charging people with fishing in lakes.
So let me ask you this, how far from the bank does when you look at the property, there's investors would probably go up there and buy a Sweetwater lake. And most of the people think
Most
it's
of
in.
that belongs to the landowner, it's not,
Sweetwater?
I mean,
Well,
well,
see
I don't
that,
know about Sweetwater, but at the Hutchisons where they live, also up at Borden Springs from the other watershed, what is those?
I don't know the name of it.
They own that land, and they don't allow you to come on it, but they own it, it doesn't
Well, I never cut
belong.
the grass or anything.
The county used to cut the grass on it.
up until last year, we
Cut
we
it.
paid to have the dams mowed.
No. That's it, just
And it's-
around the dam area.
There's one over in your district, right, with a
Hell,
Smith.
I got a bunch of them. I did.
Smith.
Hell, I got four, I could never throw a rock in my house today.
But up there, they're only the dam,
There's
everything
15
on-
in the county.
around it belongs to the landowner.
And three of them on national forest land, and they say we even should pay for the
Yeah,
maintenance.
the Sweetwater, all that's on national forest.
So
That's on
anyway,
federal land.
I just say we bucked it all the way, guys.
Yeah,
Well-
we keep moving every day. I think the more you dig into it, they're waiting for somebody to say yes.
Yeah, I'll do
Okay,
it. I'll do it. I think
this is what one of the attorneys for ACCA said before she read all the materials. She said, y'all own it, y'all liable. I said, but we don't own it. If the federal government says you own it, you own it. And I said, I want you to look through all this shit and then tell me after you read all this stuff. And she agreed to it. They're going to go all the way through it. And Sonny says, we'll try to have some meetings or whatever. If we have to drag the governor in, let's drag the governor in. That's what I told Sonny. I said, I'll go talk to whoever. If we have to go to Washington, let's go up there and tell them turd heads, something's got to happen.
It's kind of like my daddy told me one time here, if the federal government throws the badge out, just go
Well,
ahead and kiss your
Yeah.
eye.
At the end of the conversation with Sonny, here's what I said. If we own them, drain them. That'll catch all the water that's coming down. It'll do exactly what it's supposed to do. The landowners can kiss my ass. I mean, seriously. Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. If it's our responsibility, because the attorney, she's like, well, if the dam breaks and somebody gets drowned and somebody's house gets washed away, you know how attorney is.
Yeah, they think all the need.
All of
Don't give a
the
crap,
watersheds, like now, most of the rounds, like around Sweetwater and, going down Gordon Round, they're not close to any houses. The one at the Hutchison, and the one that's up in
There's
Gordon
two
Mountain,
houses.
I mean, it's the whole valley. It covers, especially the one, off of 70.
I can't believe back when they built those things,
It
that they didn't have right of ways to them.
everything.
It's beautiful in
I
there.
know what the
It
landlord's
is,
saying,
but, you
but
know,
I cannot believe that when the federal government had those things built, that there was not a right of way created to those properties.
There's didn't believe right on the papers to one of the meetings. I mean,
It's
there's a
hard.
stack of papers this high that he dug out, the resolutions, and
And
some of
it
them
doesn't say that there's a right of way to
it
it.
don't say nothing on
Well, what's
it.
gonna happen is the landowner's gonna own
The
it.
federal government's gonna pay that bill.
The
that's,
government gonna own it.
the other one up at Gordon, they used to, one of the landowners used to go in and drain, you know, let the water, release the water, and they've stopped him from doing that.
It was all done for eroding, to protect
We what?
eroding, right?
Yeah, no, it's to hold back the water for flooding and stuff. See, this, when I went to that meeting in Oxford, the one example they gave down there was where the, what they call that thing right there beside the interstate, that big building they got next to the lake and all that crap.
Reservoir.
No, in Oxford.
Civic Center?
Yeah, that without these lakes, that place would be underwater.
The swamp, yeah.
Yeah, so this is,
So that's the one that was built in White Plains.
yes.
And it also supplies water to African County.
But see, the ones out there around me, they don't do crap. But when it rains, they keep the water in an even flow so it don't flood. Which is what they're supposed to do. But the guy from the National Forest that was at the very first meeting I went to, he starts talking about dredging and replacing valves and this, replacing pipes, and you know, I'm like, what kind of money are we talking about? He said, oh, somewhere between $20 and $200 million. And I said, you can't Cleburne County out. We out. Well, that didn't sit well. Which he don't do that no more. They've transferred him, told them not to talk about watershed anymore.
Well, they must have a problem with it. They must see the problem with it, and they're not.
Well, it's like
So
a watershed
address
address.
it.
That up in Gordon, you know, it's done started rusting. That one on.
There's a bunch of valves and pipes that need replacing. And they want to give us a sheet of paper, this is what's got to be done, and then we're supposed to do the paperwork. But until someone proves we own it,
They know that there's no way a county like ours could ever pay for even the first.
Yeah, so
I mean,
but
there's no,
you gotta look at it legally.
but it doesn't matter, I mean, legally, where are we gonna get the money? I mean,
Well, I told
it's
Sonny-
impossible.
I told Sonny today, I said, we'll go bankrupt and I'll go home.
you won't have to do that, because it's like this right here. First of all, the contractor's not gonna go up there unless somebody signs a contract. And the only thing that they could do for us is take us to court and say, you're gonna pay us $20 million to get Sweetwater Lake dredged. And that's, you're talking, we're not gonna be alive when it happens.
Well,
So-
but anyway, we trying to figure out ownership at the present time.
Okay.
And for the walking, huh?
I was going to ask about the watershed.
I don't know about the walking trail. I don't know
The
what.
only thing I know is that you need to apply for another grant.
Just stick it on new business,
I don't-
Well, I think if everybody's good with new business, I'll get more detail. And we'll,
yeah.
And the increase in the fee.
the watershed, we don't need anything, right?
No,
Business license, did I cover that? Okay,
Yes.
well, is that what y'all was talking about tonight? I need to talk to Robbie about that, and he just wasn't sure about that.
I mean, I was in business for 20 years and I always had to have a vote before.
Well, I think Tammy said she's gonna start telling, that you need to have a county's license. If we can come up with something that says, and I think it's true, like what you were saying, where if you're buying stuff, selling, if you're just doing a service, you're not selling anything. It's like if a guy's coming in the city of Heflin to do HVAC, well, he wouldn't have to have a county's license if he's only doing it in the city of Heflin. If he goes out to the county, he's gonna have to have, and most of them does work in the county too. So they would have to have a county's license too.
HVAC, you gotta think about it, most of them are also providing parts if they've got, if there's some portion of what their bill is.
See, where a lot of them loses the money is like you've got a Frito-Lay truck that comes in. That Frito-Lay truck sells products in the city, the county, and a lot of, I know Fritos was losing money there because they didn't realize that Frito-Lay was supposed to be buying a business license from the city of Fritos because they were selling a good inside their city limits. And we have people that's
I wouldn't be afraid to say it's 20 or 25 peddlers comes through Hickman every week.
Also,
And some of them sell tens of thousands of dollars.
what we were finding out, we were missing out on is, insurance companies. If a person in your county buys an insurance from a company anywhere at all, that company has to have a business license. If it's inside the city limits, it's got to have city one and county one.
I guess we just gotta get the word out and then start enforcing it. I mean, that's what the county-
The only way to ever, like, this business like that is for the kids, but like people like me that own a business, I'm supposed to have that city and county license,
The
and
county,
state.
Well, the
$100 business privilege.
the county is, and state's the same license, right?
Yes.
You talking about the business privilege tax, which is. the
You have to
biggest-
have all authority.
Yeah, the business privilege tax is the biggest bunch of crap.
But you have to have it.
What's it called?
There's not a
Business
county
privilege
ordinance.
tax.
You gotta pay a tax
State.
for the privilege you won't
I
have.
know
a
one
business
time,
state law.
State Alabama, you
Mr.
have to
Smith
have that business.
used to go around and check all these businesses, whether he's
I
in the
got the
city
lady
or.
down there in that office is personal.
And I don't know what is
About crawl to the
the
phone on her.
fee, Brian, if
Woodland
it's,
thing.
if it's,
It's the
if you don't have it?
Does our business, our business.
I mean, is there?
No, there's no penalty or fee, they just encourage you to go get it.
They know they got a business.
I cannot always do it, mine goes at the form, just like.
You know, I don't-
That's the thing, our police.
It's kinda like,
And
Well, in this day and time, get somebody to go write a check for $100 at some of these businesses.
well, I don't know that there's I don't know if they can write a ticket or not.
You can
But
shut
they-
it down, can't you? They don't buy.
I don't
What you're saying?
think, we run into that, I mean, same thing like there, like we both had trouble with that interstate, them paying their taxes. Y'all had trouble?
Couldn't you lock their door? Didn't we figure that out?
We kind of bluffed them,
Well, we really didn't
but
know.
we don't really know that we can legally do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's something else and I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of turn.
No, you're fine.
But there's something else I'm trying to find out right now, and, we're missing out on, people that have online businesses. Like, if they deliver, if the person orders, or the product is delivered in that county or city, trying to get clarification, because people call and ask that too.
If it's local delivery, you have to have a license just like a regular business, but if you're delivering it out of the state, you don't know. That's what the ACCA has told us, I think.
In other words, it's being brought in from out of state.
Yeah, she's talking about one in Heflin sending it somewhere else.
Like, if you're shipping a product to another county,
Yeah.
do we get anything? No?
Wherever the destination is.
It's where the merchandise.
Same way it's
Yes, that's all enforced by the departments of revenue.
That come by through the new, like Amazon.
Nationwide.
Mark says yes.
You're getting your taxes
Outside
now.
the city limits.
But it's to who it's delivered to. Like if I buy something,
4 cents or 6 cents.
if I buy something, it's delivered to my house.
Correct, it's on the receiving end.
Okay.
It's on the receiving end.
Like
But if
if
you
you
sell,
want
but
When you
it's
sell to somebody in Minnesota, I gotta send money, tax money to Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Give him all his little summer dream.
It's based on where it's received.
It's on.
What did
Well,
we
he's
ever,
gonna have- he's gonna
when did we ever
have-
figure out about the sheriff's maintenance thing? We gotta bid that out.
You know, he gets so
But he's
excited
right,
and
his
stuff.
taxes are
Hey guys,
different.
just a little bit, real
Yes,
quick.
it's pain, big pain.
Terry's asking about the sheriff's.
Vehicle maintenance agreement, we
Okay.
gotta bid that out.
Well, we need to talk about this.
Yes.
You know, like with me, I check the fluids even though I get my car serviced. Some way or another, and I just, when I was in Anniston today, I just stopped at a couple of places, and I've had my stuff serviced at these places before, especially when I used to work in Douglasville. Bristol's car was taken to Buster Myers the last time it was serviced. I didn't know where it was taken to, she just told me. But the reservoir was bone dry. And you know, when you check the brake fluid, it was low. I mean, it was almost like I did just a 7-point inspection out there on her car. And what happens is, you know, when you sort of look at the sheriff's cars where we have transmissions and motors that are burned up, and you know, all it takes is a little leak. You know, if you just look at your reservoir, Terry, you know this. If you look at your reservoir and you don't get a note, hey, the reservoir was empty, and the man put a gallon of water in it, and when you go to this place here, I'm just saying, when you go here, you get that 40-point inspection.
That's what I would sheet.
Yes, and if they say they added, and that's something that people need to understand, if they add a half a gallon of water, you know, I mean, even her windshield wipers was bone dry. I mean, none of the stuff was, I mean, and we're all signing these checks for these service companies to service our vehicles. I think if whoever's gonna service our vehicle,
An inspection sheet.
we need to create that inspection sheet, and they need to initial it that their mechanic has done it. And then also the driver, the owner of that vehicle needs to initial it, but little things like this, it's like, I don't expect Crystal or well, maybe Lisa, but on some of them, they might not know, but she's been down there dealing with this stuff. But I'm just saying, when you walk out there and I throw a county vehicle up, and we're paying, as Terry says, over $15,000 this year in servicing of equipment, and I raise the hood, and everything in there is bone dry, does not sound good to me, so.
Did they not give, I mean,
Like,
I
don't
know at the Toyota place, you get an inspection sheet.
That's just.
I mean, when they finish, they
Yeah.
hand it over to you.
I don't know, you know, I don't
You go
know.
through there and you see exactly what's been done.
Let's-
You would think every dealership.
Those are all good points, but I think Terry's worried about the auditors.
This,
Well, that's where I'm going with it.
well, okay, well, what we got right now though is Crystal is supposed to be taking her part of the road department now. Everybody has agreed to do that except the sheriff's department.
Okay, but let me finish this.
Okay.
I want a sheet, and I want something put in our county vehicles. Every county vehicle we got, that if we're gonna take it to somebody,
You can't tell the sheriff's department.
Well,
when he comes up and asks for a car, I
They
can
don't
tell
give,
you,
they don't give it
they'll
to
give
you.
it to them.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, so I mean, but when we see it here, and you sit over and you go in there, and some of those vehicles at the sheriff's department are nearly new vehicles, and the motors are going out and the transmission's going out, but I'm saying, this is the thing with the sheriff. The sheriff is wanting a licensed person to walk on what? To change the oil, I don't think you have to have that, do you?
I know.
but what you're saying, you need to put a resolution together that all vehicles being maintained must come with an inspection sheet.
I think it needs to be a little, if we got 50 vehicles, we buy 50 books. And you just go in there and you print them out, and you do that, you stamp them, you put it in there, and it's got the checks. Whoop, check the brake fluid, whoop, check the reservoir, whoop, the windshield wiper blades. When you go out there to a car that was serviced not even 2 months ago, and everything's bone dry, it doesn't make sense to me.
I agree with you, but this is what we run into with the garbage. They got the little computer thing, you know, that they hit the button and all that stuff. One of the drivers was sitting at the end of the road going, and drove on past the road 4 weeks in a row. And I called him, they fired him. But I mean, you got people that just go.
When they check that,
Then they're responsible.
they're responsible. If you get down the road and all of a sudden you've lost oil pressure, you've got that sheet that says they checked it. So guess what? They're gonna pay for that damage because
If you get everybody to take them out there to the road department, and then come up with a checklist, I'm all for it. What we're dealing with right now is the sheriff's department.
Okay.
You know,
Well, I don't think that's gonna have a curve in it until January. What do you think?
Well, I heard our new sheriff the other day tell a group of people that ain't nothing gonna change, everything's gonna stay the same. We good. But I mean, you know, he was probably just talking. I hope he was just talking. Because I do hope some things change. But, I mean, we done gone too far on this crap now. We wanna wait till next year or whatever, because we're gonna get written up on this, because this doesn't gonna wait past $15,000.
Well, let's say this, just in all fairness, I want you to know this, that the auditor the examiner's office did tell me that if they went on and had it bid out, even this late in the year, then at least it would look like they were making the effort to do something. I don't know that they're.
Well, why can't we do that now for the county? And that's where I'm going with this restaurant conversation. If he won't take his to the county barn, then here's one guy, his name is Doug Smith, would be honored to give us a sheet on what he charges per oil change.
We've got to be that.
That's what I'm saying, this guy says, say when.
But my question, back to my original question was, the sheriff's, from what I'm hearing through the grapevine, I didn't talk to the sheriff personally, but what I was told was, he said he wasn't bidding it out, that it wasn't on him to bid it out, it was on the commission to bid it
I'm
out.
talking
So
about,
if it's on us, let's bid the damn thing out and say, here you go, Mr. Sheriff. If that's what we need to do.
that's what we're saying.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, let's just, I guess is what I did, I just brought the map up. Let's just say within a 15-mile radius. 15-mile radius takes you to the edge of Anniston, all of Oxford, right up to the Georgia line, right to the, so that's a 15-mile radius. See how
We already asked the sheriff to come to the next meeting, y'all just talk to him.
Both of them.
I mean,
You should.
I just think we need a resolution.
I think
to bid it out.
that 15 miles is about as far as you want to go.
Hold up, it's our responsibility.
He
It's
said
our
it's not.
responsibility, he's already said that we bid it out, and that's what we need.
We put our bed sheets together, see, the last time they wanted to keep it inside the county, you remember that?
Bidding it out.
But does the sheriff decide that we?
I mean, I talked to this guy for
Or do we decide that the sheriff?
30 minutes, and he's like,
I
I love working on vehicles like this.
That's not.
They do rotation of tires, brakes, alternators, the whole nine yards.
Sheriff says that we need to bid it out.
And that's what I heard through the grapevine, I have not talked to Dennis.
I know one of them said it, but wasn't Dennis that said it, that's not the person I heard it from. And I actually turned around and sent Jason over an email stating that they're refusing to use it, you know, we're already getting in trouble on this whole deal. And he said, well, he said, you can task the sheriff's department to do it.
Yeah, that's what Jason said.
That is what he
Okay,
said.
well,
But
we need a
if he doesn't want to do it, then it may still fall on us.
Still falls on us.
Like you said, right?
Well, if that's the case, let's just do a resolution and bid it out and tell the sheriff that here's where you gotta take all your cars.
That's what I was just fixing to get to. Once you don't have an account, you don't need an account at another station, if this is where this is gonna happen.
Right, they don't get.
Now, you have emergency stuff where, you know, if you have a busted tire or something like that.
Well, let's put it on new business, to do a resolution, to bid it out. And of course, you run all this by our county attorney, and he's gonna come back and say, we paid you,
But we have to show the auditor that we're.
make it in the team.
I think so.
Okay,
Now, we are still gonna get rid of, but they didn't say that.
But I'm gonna invite the sheriff to come.
Okay, my next question is, since he is refusing to use ours, does the sheriff department need to write up the specs? I mean, is he gonna go with our specs for the bid, or does he need to write the specs for the bid? I mean,
Yeah.
the sheriff's department, it just grabs my ass every time I have to deal with it.
But-
And it's not because of Dennis or none of them, it's just because we have no control.
What you're saying is if we bid this out, and we bid it out like just what makes sense, or maybe what's been bid out before.
Then he can
you
just
might
say he
turn
won't
around and
accept
say,
that either.
I'm not accepting that, because even though you bid it out, and it met all the, it meets all these specifications,
Can
they're
we-
not certified,
Can
or they
we,
aren't uncertified.
can we get,
We would,
Need to
hire somebody that was uncertified.
We need to
I'm
talk to
saying,
the sheriff.
can we get the county administrator to call the sheriff's department and ask them to give us a spec sheet on what they want, and we will bid it out? How
Well,
about
it's gonna be specifications, it depends on what you want. It's no different than a transmission. You know, the other day, even though we sent the car down to Gary to have the transmission checked on, if it was just this or that, he could fix it. But where did it wind up at? It wound up at a transmission shop over in Anniston. And we got it back, and I guess it's running fine now. Gary drove it around. And when they drive those vehicles, they charge us by the hour for driving it. And so, you know, when you're saying, what you gotta say is, to the sheriff is, this is where we're gonna do our oil changes, alternators, you know, minor stuff.
Yeah.
But then if it is, you know, if we do have something that's bigger, and I don't see where it's gotta be certified to put the tires on over at the county barn. In other words, we don't have because we buy our tires anyway. I think the engineer buys all the tires, the only difference is, we take them down there to a tire changer at Gary's or.
We got tire changers and balancers now.
Yeah, so all the tires will be picked up over there and installed by the county, but the stuff that, you know, and we'll just send that out. There's Brooks, I don't think Brooks even does oil.
You,
He does
Does
his?
mine.
Okay.
is the Amco And Anderson's on one that does transmissions now.
All the tires come off state bid, out of company, I guess.
All I know is I'll go meet with Dennis and talk to him, just say what some of the concerns. That's probably the best thing to do, is just communicate.
But
We need a direction, not that we're mad, we wanna get in a serious situation.
I'm not saying anything against Dennis, I'm just saying somebody gotta do something.
We gotta understand what we gotta do to protect ourselves from being written up in the audit, and then how to make sure that everybody's safe.
But the separation, when we're talking about separation, is, you know, when we're talking, this could have been, let's say on that, Dodge truck. You know what a transmission costs for that baby. So that cannot, to me, some of those things cannot fall under this window, because first of all, who do you call? Do we need to call all these transmission shops and get us bids on how transmissions installed? Do we need to have motors installed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did I tell you how the state handles it?
yeah.
If the state comes to me and Napa doesn't, well, I'm retired, but anyway, they come to me and they want a part, and it's a part Napa does not sell. But the Ford dealership sells it over there, but they don't have an agreement with the Ford dealership. I go to the Ford dealership, and it's written in my contract that I mark it up 10%, and I sell it to the state. So if you could write it up in this contract where let's say it's Texaco would then farm it out to whoever, and it would come back to Texaco. That's the way the state now.
Okay.
Or
So whoever got the bid, you mark it up 10%, and that's what they do.
Yeah, see, I sign a contract every year with the state, and it goes through their lawnmower parts, 15%, starters 10%.
And I think it's getting out of the sheriff's wheel well, to come up with all this. I think this one's come up by this office,
But
right?
would you also have a contract separate, like for motors and for transmissions, since those are major?
What Terry just said would solve your problem. If it needed transmission, like what Terry did the other day, other than the work he did on it, he takes it down, he checks it out, and he tells us, well, it's gonna be probably, by the time he got through checking out, say it's $200 for what he had done. He sends it to Amoco, which turned out to be $3,000 or whatever. So then you add that on to what he just got, so that comes back, and then you got your car sitting out there in the parking lot. So same thing, what Terry's saying is in that contract, say if Gary gets the contract, then Gary would understand that if we decide that we're gonna put a motor in something, and sometimes we just seem to sell it at the yard sale, because if you get into so deep and depending on how many miles is on the vehicle and how old it is, it might be better to go on state bid list and just buy a new vehicle for $27,000.
Well, we still have the bid in place with Cheatwoods, other words, but he can charge 10% for farming out.
Farm it out, that's good.
That's what the state does.
That sounds fair.
That's a good idea.
Some of it's 10%, some of it's 15%. I mean, they got like a 10-page sheet you have to go through anyway.
Something he can't do, that would be a code that they can send it somewhere, and that's what it would be.
I'm getting hungry, but I ain't rushing y'all.
All right.
What else?
You sent us an email about John Blue. Is that something the commission wants to do?
About John Blue.
The letter of recommendation or whatever?
About the phones?
No. John Blue with Regional EMS Agency.
I don't think I sent that.
Yeah, you did. You sent it to me.
I know John Blue, but I don't know that I sent that.
What does it do?
I know we got one.
No, let's
Water
see.
Street.
No, he sent it out. There you go. You read it.
We got one.
Letter of support for East Alabama Emergency Medical Services application request for proposal from the Alabama Department of Public Health.
I talked to Tracy about it this morning, and he said that bunch helped him get $150,000 grant or something, but it's just asking for a letter. I don't know if that's something we want to do or not.
Does it give, is that the letter?
No, the letter's up early.
So is that the sample letter?
Yeah. I ain't looking at that.
I'm noting that up, I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
If y'all wanna add this.
But I mean, it's something that we want to do or not do. I don't know why, I thought you sent it to me, but he sent it to me.
I missed that.
I ain't never
Letter of
got it.
support for Alabama, I write in support of the East Alabama Emergency Medical Services designation. can't read it all, but with the Alabama Department of Public Health in its Office of Emergency Medical, is without hesitation, reservation, I endorse EAEMS application for request for proposal of Alabama Department of Public Health Office. John Blue,
They reviewing a contract with the state.
Yeah.
That's the way I,
do y'all want to put that on consent agenda, the time this letter up? If you,
I can send it to her.
yeah.
You are getting all your emails from ACCA, ain't you?
I talked to Tracy, and Tracy said that he had sent him the same thing, and he was going to send back a letter.
It's probably not a bad idea. I mean, John Blue's always been pretty good to help our local.
When all that crap was going on at the nursing home a few years ago, he came in and made some suggestions. I don't really know the guy that much, I made it a time or two. Budget, when are we gonna start working on the budget?
Started putting binders together already. Emily includes stuff into that, and it's got our timeline, which already got topped up in our spreadsheets that we'll send to each department so that they can start updating anything that is gonna be in addition to their budget for this year. I've got Emily Brown working on the salary budget already. I emailed that to her. I had already worked on it a fair amount just because of the pay study information sort of fit in that way. So I got her working on that, and the binders, we've got a timeline on there, and I've got everything laid out, starting with July. I'm gonna have to have those binders back by that time and give them their A&E reports for the third quarter, so they'll have a really good, concise idea of where they're standing with the last 3 months of the year. So all that's in the works. So we have started doing those steps to get ready for it.
We leave it for conference, will we not?
Yes, absolutely. You should have, we'll have all the binders back from the department heads and everything, all their suggestions, everything will be ready. And I'll have the beginning of a rough draft of our budget by then. So you'll definitely,
Prior to sending those budgets out, are you planning to sending it out, or I think what I would do is put a package together and set aside 30 minutes minimum, and then you just say, hey, if it runs over 30 minutes, it might be an hour since this is your first time, and really sit down with each department head for an hour in your office and just say, this, I want you to bring this, then that way, anything that they might can help you along with also, then that way, it might be some things I think going, because a lot of these folks here have worked a long time in the past, so I think it would be good if you, instead of just sending it out, say, okay, come in, pick up your package and open it up, look at it, and let's talk, let's spend at least no less than 30 minutes. And then you might walk into about an hour, because at the jail, I would have to say that you would probably work into about an hour with
well,
the jail.
I don't know how these were distributed before. I just know that she already had binders from last year. I actually had a good example. That was a really easy way for me to look and see what her timeline was like last year, because I still have her original timeline from last year. So I put one together. It's real similar as far as the weeks go, and then your day or two off just because of the way calendar year falls out. But I've got those being started, and we'll do is already started with those already. That would be something that all she's going to do is make copies and stuff and put everybody's section.
So April's big in your budget, right? April's big in your budget. I'm just saying that.
It's just
Yeah.
whatever that you.
Yeah, for one another.
Department head,
I agree.
She knows more about
Each one.
cost of supplies.
What about, can you get us a figure on the rainy day fund? And how hard would it be to come up with a figure of what we're gonna have in the general fund at the end of this budget year? Just go ahead, what's budgeted, take out of what we got in the general fund and sort of come up with a rough figure on that.
All right, y'all got any other issues that y'all want voted on? Ms. Cobb? Go ahead, what were you saying?
The RSA is out there wanting to give,
That was one thing I forgot. We wanted to give retirement.
And now we're back into what was that thing?
they emailed out a dollar figure.
$17,000.
Not an email, they mailed it to us, but is it it something we need to vote on, because I'm gonna vote no. Is it something we need to vote on or not?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
I don't even want it on the agenda.
It's came up before.
No.
It comes up every year, but I can't remember if we voted on it.
Someday y'all will be retired, y'all remember that?
When you say you're not gonna vote for it, then why do we want to waste our time? Let it work on her. Period. No. I don't want it on the
Okay, so we don't want-
agenda. I'm just saying what I don't want. I don't want it on the agenda.
Okay. Fine with me.
Well, now, any of us can ask that it be put on the
Well, that's
agenda.
what I'm saying, but I'm saying Emmett don't want it.
$14,094 is what it costs
Yeah, I was
us,
thinking
but it'll be
17.
that every year going forward too.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how the fuel costs is impacting the county as a whole, you know?
I just got another mailbox in there.
You'd like to know what, Em?
I'd like to know how the fuel cost is affecting us as a county.
That's gonna be probably,
It's hard to do.
no, engineer probably has an idea of his, and the sheriff's gonna have an idea of his, and then outside of that.
Those are some things that's really gonna fit us in the ear. I know the city's struggling with it right now.
Well, I looked at the report this morning, and the so-called experts are saying before July 4th that it'll be $5 a gallon. And by Labor Day, maybe look at $6 a gallon for gasoline. And diesel's gonna do more than that.
Let's put that on new business, just so, because we'll get.
Did you get one?
No, we don't get a first or second, that's fine, at least it was on the agenda, it was.
Well, see, that was the only reason I was bringing it up. It's something we need to vote on. Because I don't think we've ever passed it. We might need to vote on it.
If you don't get it, it just dies, but at least we'll put it on new business. Okay. Anything else?
I don't think,
You gonna ask, you wanna ask, and I will try to get the sheriff to be here, but we need that, and he may need to bring some support with him on that. Find out how it's affected his budget, the cost
I would like to
of
know.
fuel, and then also with, any other besides the road department? I mean, has mileage going up on,
Well, maybe
more miles right now?
the thing to remember, like in Joyce's office, we need to look at that, so we can also make sure, because we only pay 13% of her budget. So if it's going up like in hers, that will come out of everybody in the county's budget as far as her office, if she's,
But like some of our gas, like, out of that election fund, I have mileage, a lot of mileage. Is that, what's the
well, the
rate right
mileage,
now?
is it going up, is the mileage rate going up?
Is it still,
I'm aware of.
Well, that's where-
0.56?
It don't go up that many cents.
5.8, I'm not sure which.
I thought we set it on, we have a resolution, we set it on the federal index.
Oh, is it? Okay.
This.
But
Well, they know
like
that.
Roger's question, though,
6 months.
more than double. Since Biden was sworn in, and since the start of our budget, it is probably,
Double.
it's close, awful close.
58.5
Cents a mile.
cents per mile.
And
I don't even,
If something don't happen, that's gonna weigh heavily on next year's budget.
Everyone trying to encourage
The fuel
people to
cost.
go vote in the runoff. And people tend to not go back and vote in the runoff.
Well, I don't have much mileage except election time and then going on conference trips, I said.
but it's gonna affect the sheriff's department and the road department.
yeah, that's the ones that's gonna affect the most.
Lee and I were talking this morning, and then I made a suggestion to him, and I don't know if he was gonna bring it up tonight or not, but, we was talking about fuel tanks and all that bunch of crap. I suggested to him that we need a surplus fuel trailer. They were, he said, one of those hold 8,000 gallons. And it's on wheels, and neither of them don't have no say when it comes on wheels. So we could have a backup on diesel fuel and a backup on gas, sitting in a trailer, we could hook to that trailer and take it to Oxford and have it filled up.
That's a good idea.
But I mean, it was just talking, but I'll throw it out there.
Well, if we had it filled up, the cost would probably drop $2 a
That
gallon.
white, that
Well, you've got looked on our website changed a little bit too, as far as bringing it up and communicating. Because now, you used to call and you just hit one, and it pushes you into the mountain, and then you hit
5 to
Two.
1 office.
yeah, but now it just, I don't know where it goes, it don't say, like it would, if you was calling to talk to, Emily Williamson, you could get to that office. Now it's totally changed, it's whoever picks up the phone, I guess.
I don't know,
Why do you say
today, when I call, it says 1 is for
Mountain Center.
this, and then 2 is for JSU.
But you know,
And then when you go to 1, it'll tell you, it'll start naming all their offices, like hers is 5, 911 is 3.
You're not being patient in the system.
Yeah.
That gives you a chance to get
It's
to,
jumping to.
maybe that's what happened.
Oh,
Y'all ready?
yeah, I'm ready to go eat.
See y'all next week.